So first thing, let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you a comment that was hard to reply to and as an example of what discussion looks like. I thought was good to analyze.
Okay.
And
Right.
it's short. We're only going
Okay.
to analyze this much plus context. But it's just this one thing he said.
Okay. One thing. Sounds easy? Maybe not easy.
I hope it's not too hard.
Like saying to like analyze a comment sounds like it would be easy. But then like it seems like it could be hard. There might be a lot of stuff you need to know.
You don't need
Okay.
to know a lot of stuff for this. And you don't need a ton of detail. There's just like one main thing.
Okay.
Okay, so try reading it.
Right, sure. I should have said something. So avoid pitfall. So I found.
So, do you get the
Wait,
general
was here.
idea of what he's saying? Like the structure? Like, do you understand
I'm
this
not
part?
sure.
Like, suppose he wrote, you know, like
Okay.
this, right? Would you understand this version of the sentence? Or
Yeah,
paragraph?
like maybe he said like why, but then he's like, I should have said something more like X. That's more what I meant. That would make sense. Huh. So you can like just start with the first thing. So this is just like him saying that he should have said something else, and it seems like maybe he was wrong about how he said something, and then someone said he
Yes.
was wrong, and then he was like, oh yeah, I was wrong with that.
Okay, so it sounds like he's conceding a point to me because he's responding to me. And,
Yeah,
so you might think that's a good thing, and the discussion's
right
going
and
pretty well.
sure. Like right,
Yeah,
sure, and I should have.
so right sure is actually a sign that he doesn't mean it. It's sort of like, okay, whatever, this is dumb. I'll concede if you want me to. Like it hints at that. Which
Huh.
are not what those words mean if you read them straightforwardly, but in our culture, they sometimes mean that. Like he's saying sure that can mean he doesn't care and he thinks it's a minor point and that I'm being picky over something stupid, and it could mean something like that. So I was suspicious when I saw this.
Hmm.
So I thought, well, we should look at the context. So like he should have said something more like X. So instead of what, right? Like what is this replacing?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked at what I had written,
Hmm.
which was this. This is what he
Okay.
quoted me writing.
Then you have values. Okay. Okay, so like if you try to come up with a hypothesis that like involves going faster than the speed of light, like you can automatically be like, no, that one doesn't work, don't need to consider.
Uh-huh.
Or
Okay,
if you
but
try to
was
come up with like a
yeah.
way to mine gold, like that one, like you can exclude digging it up with your hands pretty easily.
Yeah. So we still don't know what he said. So he only quoted me, right?
Hmm.
So if I go back up, I can find out what I quoted him saying.
Wait, what was the last thing you said?
Okay, so he wrote this and he quoted me writing this.
Yeah,
But
so
to
he
compare,
said,
when he says I should have said something more like, he's saying his own previous message could use this sort of edit, right?
yes.
So we have to go further back up to find his own previous message. Does that make
And
sense?
so quoting a quotation might have been better here. Like you're responding to him, so he could have quoted
He
like the
could have
first thing
had
he said.
multiple quote levels, but he did not.
So that'd be like more convenient. But now we have to like go all the way up. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
here's what I
Like
quoted from him. Uh, what I really want to do, I think there's a little bit more that's relevant. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna grab the actual his entire paragraph that he's referring to. We now have, so he wrote this paragraph, I wrote a reply, And then he wrote this right sure thing.
Okay.
So
I'm
now
gonna try
you
to
have
read.
all the information that you need.
Okay. I'm gonna read the very first one. Okay. Venerated method. I don't know what venerated means.
That means people
Like.
have a high opinion of it.
Okay.
Venerate. Regard with great respect. Revere.
Okay. That was like my initial thing is like kind of high status important or something.
Yes.
Okay. Working hypothesis. Okay. Uh, okay, I think I read the first paragraph now. For
Okay.
some reason I'm having problem reading it.
Okay, so he says, using the method of multiple working hypotheses,
Mm, okay.
hypotheses. It's his own post that he's linking to.
Mm,
So he says, using his own post's idea, we should, and then key part, come up with as many hypotheses as we can to explain the data. And this
that
has
seems,
many advantages, including increase the probability that one of our ideas is right.
yeah, it seems like in too much time, like as many hypotheses as can explain the data. Like that include like the answer is 1, or like the answer is 1.1, or the answer is 1.001. Like you could have a lot of hypotheses like that, or like
Yeah,
more
I
random
mean,
stuff like
he
Hitler did it.
he has in mind more complicated things, but I'll show you how it works. So suppose that our data set is 1, 2, 3, then what functions would output that data set? And you can come up with um so n, you can come up with n times 2 divided by 2.
Not really following with how that works. Is that how you just write something that goes up by 1?
Yeah, so n is the input number. So we assume the input
Okay.
numbers are 1, 2, and 3. Then if we
Okay.
return the input number, we get 1, 2, 3.
Return the input. Wait, so if we put 3 in, what happens?
Then n is 3, and then here we add up 3 plus nothing, and we get 3.
Okay. We get 3. Okay, and then we times 3
And
by
this
2.
one, this is a separate one. If you times it by 2 and then divide it by 2, you also get 3. So it's a different formula to get the same thing.
Hmm. Okay, so these are like 2 different ways to get the same data set.
Uh-huh.
Hmm. Okay. Uh,
There's infinitely many things you could do, including ones that are more substantially different. So you can come up with infinitely many ones that would result in a different number as the fourth number.
different number. Okay,
Like
infinite.
these
Yeah, I
two,
think so.
if you put in 4, you'd get 4 back. But you can have a
Yeah.
different one where if you put in 4, you get back 7 or a
Hmm.
million. Doesn't matter. It can be anything, literally anything.
Huh. Literally anything. I don't know how math work too well, so that's why I'm kind of skeptical. But it seems like you could just multiply it by a really specific number or use fractions or something, and then you could make it work.
Yeah. There's actually an example of that in Yudkowsky's book. It's a well-known thing. It's not actually controversial among experts.
Like you can do any math thing infinitely, or is not?
You can write a computer function that maps
Mhm.
any inputs to any outputs.
Hmm.
So
So
you
if
can
there
map
was an
1 to
input
1, 2 to
of
2, 3 to
squid,
3, and 4 to literally anything.
so you could make squid literally play the game of Doom.
squid?
Just the word squid. Like you type in squid and then it creates Doom or something. The game.
Yes, you could have the input squid map to the source code of Doom. Or the exe file or whatever.
Okay.
Anyways, right, so he's saying come up with as many as we can. So not just like a lot, but as many as we can. And I'm like, well, we could just do that forever. You know?
Yeah.
So that's not actually a good idea as written. And he's like, fine, you're right, whatever, I have to change it, you're being picky, blah, blah, blah. And he says he should replace this statement with this other statement.
Okay. So his original statement is like come up with as many hypotheses as we can. I'm gonna try doing a little tree of this, like
Okay. And then
okay.
specifically, can you figure out what text he thinks should be replaced?
Uh, okay. Then which hypotheses, or no, which thing does he think we should replace? It's like kind of what part of this message, well, not exactly this message, what part of his message does he think should be changed? Okay, so come up with as many hypotheses as we can. Okay, there are infinitely many hypotheses that we could come up with. Okay, right, sure, I should have said something more like, we are well advised to avoid the pitching. Okay, I should have said something more like this thing. So he said something else, and he should have said something more like this thing. We are... Why do I feel like the well advised to is in parentheses?
I don't know.
Okay, we are well advised to avoid the pitfall of latching onto one hypothesis or a small number of overly similar hypotheses. This doesn't seem related to the last one as much.
This doesn't seem related to this.
No, to like the words he said above. It's not like he's
Which one's not related to which one?
2 not related to 3.
Okay. I agree with you that there's a bit of a disconnect where he seems to have kind of changed what he was saying significantly to saying something quite different.
Okay, what is he saying though? We are well advised to avoid the pitfall of latching onto one hypothesis or a small number of overly similar hypotheses. Okay, so we shouldn't latch onto like a single hypothesis, like n, or a overly similar hypotheses like n times 1.00000001. I don't really know how times work, but I'm just gonna
Yeah.
act like
So
it's
he changed
almost
it from
the
as
same.
many as we can to more than
Still
one.
fucking a lot.
No, he changed it to more than one. Don't do one. And don't do a small number of similar ones. So he
Okay.
changed it to like have, instead of as many as we can, he's just like, don't be near 0.
Okay, so you go from like infinite to don't be 0.
Yeah, it's a big change in his claim. But okay, specifically, he says, um, I should have said, and then he tells us what he should have said. So can you figure out where he should have said it? And like what would his updated version be? Like he's offering a correction to what he said before. So can you construct the new version that he's saying is what he should have said?
Okay, I'll try to, but first I want to read this more. Okay, I'm having
Okay.
problems with like well advised to and pitfall of latching on to. Those ones,
Well
those
advised
words.
means it's a good idea,
Okay, like
and pitfall means it's a bad idea.
we are well advised to avoid, or it's good to
It's a good
avoid the bad
idea
idea.
to avoid the bad idea of doing the following.
Okay, so it's a good idea to avoid the bad idea of only being on one hypothesis, or a small number of overly similar hypotheses.
Yeah. So this is, not the best way to say it.
Huh. Is
It would
that
be a
might
good
be a
idea to
reason?
avoid the bad idea of saying it this way.
Huh. Okay. Could that have any reason to do with why I found it harder to read?
Yes, this kind of stuff does make it harder to read. I'm pretty used to it, but it's hard for people who aren't used to it.
Okay. Seems like it might be similar to the Feynman thing, where he
Yes.
read a sciencey paper and it was just people reading.
Yeah. They were talking about visual symbolic information channels.
The individual of the social community routinely receives information through symbolic stimuli. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
You use a lot of words to make it sound really big.
Okay, yeah. So, yes, there are a lot of problems with what he said, and there are some bad signs, but there's one main thing, which is, try to
Where does
figure
it
out
go?
what his update actually is. What's his main point here?
Okay, so bad. Okay.
So he's saying, instead of X, I should have said Y, right?
Okay.
Instead of saying X, I should have said Y. What are X and Y? That's kind of the question.
Okay. What I Okay, so can you scroll up a bit so I can see everything? Okay. Multiple working hypotheses. Okay, so multiple working hypotheses, fine. Okay, then we are well advised to. Oh, hey, it even shows him saying we are well advised to, and then we are well advised to. So maybe we can.
Yes, you figured it out. That's how you figure out where it goes, because he uses the same words.
Yeah, so you can just plug that into there.
Right. Okay. So X is this much. We are well advised in the rest of the sentence.
Okay, it makes sense to stop at the sentence. Yeah, that could make sense.
Okay, and then Y is we are well advised in the rest of the sentence. Is that what you want?
Mm, yeah, that seems good.
Okay. So then I will take this, which is X, and I will paste Y over it. Yeah? Is that what you want?
Yeah, that should be good. That could make sense. Yeah, one
Okay, well now
sentence.
we have his original paragraph with this part, I'll italicize it. This is the changed part.
Following the venerated method of multiple working hypotheses, then we are well advised to avoid the pitfall of latching onto one hypothesis or a small number of overly similar hypotheses. Says management. Okay, good idea to avoid the bad idea of just doing one hypothesis or a hypothesis similar to that one hypothesis. We don't do just the one thing or things that are really similar to other stuff we already have.
So, does this paragraph make much sense?
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like it does. Don't do one, just one thing. And don't do things that are too similar to other stuff we may come up with.
So, in the original, I think what he was saying is the more hypotheses we come up with, the more chance that one of them will be true. Does
Yeah,
that make
that
sense?
makes sense.
But in this one, he's not saying that anymore. He's like, just don't come up with zero, and you have more chance that one of your ideas is true. Does that argument make nearly as much sense as the original?
No. Okay, with the original, it's if you have all the ideas, then one of them is guaranteed to be right. This one's more I guess.
Don't stop at two ideas. And you're more likely to get one that's right. It's not quite wrong, but it kind of changes what he was saying, dramatically.
Alright, so what does it mean by increase the probability that one of our ideas is right? Compared to what? Increase compared to what?
If you had fewer, if you don't do this, you have less chance of getting something right. Which made sense when this was have a million ideas. But now this is, it's a completely different thing.
It seems like it would have been better. Okay, it seems like a good way to be like, oh, I should have said this in my last message, is like copy your paragraph and then like add what you should have said and then like
Yes, he could have
bold it.
showed us the edit. However, I don't think he actually thought through the edit. I don't think he'd be satisfied with this paragraph. I don't think he would have written this in the first place. I think he's being careless. His whole blog post says, like, let's have lots of ideas. It doesn't say, let's have more than 2.
Okay, I still don't know if I'm fully following on with the new paragraph. I feel like it might also say to have lots of ideas. I'm not sure. I mean the
No,
new
it
sentence.
says avoid having only 1 or only a small number that are similar. If you have 2 that are different, you're okay.
Yeah, that would make sense. If we have, if we can like try something like, okay, what if we had one idea and we wanted to hold on to it till the end of time? Okay, that's latching onto one hypothesis, so that's no good. It's like, okay, what if we had 4 ideas, but they're really similar? Then we could be like, okay, that's a small number. Wait, does it only say a small number of similar hypotheses? Can you
Yeah, so if you have a large number and they're all similar, you're okay again, according to him. According to his update that we're supposed to believe is a serious opinion.
Okay, so if we have like a million similar hypotheses, then we're good.
Yeah, they can all be variants on the same theme, and we can consider no other themes and we're okay. Or we can just have 2 that are different and we're okay. That's what he has retreated to when criticized. Here.
Huh.
So this is the blog post he linked to. I'm going to show you some highlights.
Okay.
Read the highlighted section.
Okay. We see the need to enumerate every hypothesis we can. Hypotheses. What's enumerate? Is that like put a number on it?
Yeah, he means go through all of them, like deal with all of them, list them all, kind of like that.
Okay. So you could enumerate every keyboard and you buy every keyboard that ever existed and then you like kind of review them or something.
Mention a number of things one by one. There's a definition for you. So,
Okay, so you
yeah,
could
we need
like
to go through every
enumerate.
hypothesis we can one by one. So, when I read
Oh
this,
wait,
I
one
think
by
he
one.
meant what he said, which is the more the better. Yeah?
Okay, first I want to think of something. Enumerate mean one by one, which would mean you can't just use general sweeping criticisms like it goes faster than the speed of light.
Correct, yes. And literally, this math symbol here means go through all of them. Sometimes there's shortcuts, though. So I don't think he was actually being rigorous. Like, sometimes there's a way that you can add up all the things with a shortcut and you get the right answer.
Okay.
Anyways, the
Uh,
point is, so he's saying we need every hypothesis we can get, basically. Make sense?
yeah.
Okay. But then his update is, oh, I shouldn't have said we need all the hypotheses we can get. I should have just said this other thing. It's like you said it more than once. It wasn't an accident. That was your real position. It's in your article. Here is him saying it again. It's like optimizing is always about evaluating more and more alternatives so that you can find better and better things.
Is,
So that's his actual belief or opinion that I was trying to argue with.
Okay, so we went from like keep finding more and more alternatives, like just all of them, to uh, have more than two or infinite of the same, or have more than one or infinite of the same one.
Yeah. So he clearly meant the thing he said, and then when I pointed out why it was wrong, he's just like, "Oh, well, I should have said this much milder claim that's very easy to defend." But he's not serious. He's not like, "Oh, I was completely wrong about my blog post. I retract my entire blog post." If this is his update, he'd be like, "Okay, forgot my blog post. It was all wrong." His blog post continues, generating as many as you can. about hypotheses.
Okay.
Right? He says it again, generate as many as you can.
Yeah, so you need to like make as many as you can. Like, how can you expect to find good hypotheses if you're not generating as many as you can and allowing them to compete on the data, which you then have to go through one by one?
Yeah. So he made this claim, and then he linked his blog post where he made the same claim like 3 or more times. And then I reviewed his claim, including his blog post, and told him why he was wrong. He's like, right, sure, I should have just said this completely different claim that wouldn't work for the claims I was trying to make. Like, it doesn't. He's trying to replace his claim with something else much milder that doesn't make his point. Like, his argument, his whole blog post was based on making the strong claim, and now he's making the much weaker claim.
So can you go up?
Yeah, like all the way or what?
Down. There's like a chart thing.
This one?
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't just done on like Google Sheets or Excel or something.
Oh, I don't know, whatever.
Okay. Uh, huh. Okay, that's on that tangent, and I forgot what we were talking about. Okay, something hypotheses. What did you say
The
previously?
point
Which I
is,
now
the
forgot.
thing that I criticized was a main theme of his post, which he said
Oh yeah.
over and over. And if you retract that claim, his whole post falls apart because it was a main theme.
Yeah.
And then when I criticize it, he's just like, oh, never mind that. Let me just make a completely different, weaker claim. And just substitute that in, and then I'm not wrong. And that's not honest. He doesn't have integrity. Does that make sense?
Uh, Everything except the integrity part, because I don't understand like integrity and honesty as much. Okay, I'm gonna try to think about it. Okay, so his entire post is like pretty important on like generate as many hypotheses as you can, I think. So that's like what his
Yeah.
blog post is about. And then his new thing is like, oh yeah, I guess we can't just generate as many hypotheses. Sure, you're right, whatever. What we should do is have more than one hypothesis.
Right. Which says so little.
So that's like kind of very different from the blog post. And he doesn't seem to realize. Like, will he just go back to saying stuff like, we should generate as many hypotheses as we can? Like,
I'm sure he
does
will, yeah.
he's just
He's
like
just gonna
gonna
keep saying
ignore
it.
this?
Yeah.
So he could have basically said, like, I don't care what you think. Uh, I'm not going to make a comment on your actual point. In his
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what you
Oh,
think. I'm not going to change my opinion. Here's something to make you feel better. That's what he could have tried to say.
look at this. This is the issue that he's trying to dismiss as minor. Here's what I wrote.
Okay. I did check your link in the code above to see if it answered my question. So that I read. See the need.
And
See
then
we
I
can't.
quote him saying the same thing twice in his blog post. And then I say, maybe we have a major disagreement here?
Wait. So you're the one who is not quoted.
Yeah.
Okay. So I read.
This is my post. And
Hmm,
this quote is from his blog post.
okay. Okay. And you're like, maybe we have a major disagreement here. We could talk about this because huge disagreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I asked him, if you've already thought through this issue, would you please link to or state your preferred focusing criteria or methodology? Focusing criteria meaning, how do you decide which hypotheses to focus on? Because if you accept the answer as not all of them, then you have to think about which ones are important. How do I select the right ones to focus my attention on? So it
So
changes the situation significantly. If it's the more the better, then it's easy. Should I focus on this hypothesis? Yes, to every single one. But if it's not the more the better, you have to have a way of deciding which ones are important and which ones are not important. And so then everything he was saying was kind of useless because he didn't talk about which ones are important. How do you know which ones are important? So I asked him about that. And then he wrote that careless response about, well, I could have just said this very mild claim.
Hmm. Okay, so suppose we just okay, so there's a problem with we're just gonna check
Oh
literally
wait, he
everything that.
even says he stands by his statement where he says optimizing is always in italics, so 100% of the time, every single time.
I
It's
mostly
about
stand by
evaluating
always.
more and more alternatives so that you can find better and better things. Just the more the better.
Okay, mostly stand by a statement saying
Mostly
like
stand by it, so not entirely stand by.
I just find it especially weird because it's like I mostly stand by this 100% absolute.
Yeah, I don't know. So this is an example of why it's hard to have discussions with people. I think it would be very hard to write a response to him that he would like, or that would fix anything. Yeah, I don't know how to make the discussion become productive. I think part of the
Hmm.
problem is he doesn't have enough skill. So for the discussion to be productive, he would have to improve his skill at thinking. And I don't think he wants to do that. So
Hmm. He can write sentences which seem like they have a lot of words, and that seems semi-impressing to me as a feeling.
yes, I could respond like that, but then the discussion would not help me understand ideas, so it wouldn't solve my problem.
Uh, I was just like stating what I think. I think I get impressed by things like maybe writing big words. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, well, that's approximately everyone, except that 97% of them lie about it and won't admit it,
Huh.
which makes it a lot harder for them to fix it and change.
Okay. Uh, I guess like just being able to read through big word uh, is helpful, or like sentences. Like it's well advised to avoid the pitfall. Like being able to read that. Like okay, it's a good thing. Like if you are advised, like you should follow it. It's like a good idea to avoid the bad idea. So it's a good idea to avoid the bad idea, the pitfall. And then like if
Yeah,
you can do that,
Justin, and you still comma splice.
is okay. I'm not sure what comma splicing is. I use commas sometimes.
It's when you
I
take two
mostly,
sentences and you put a comma in the middle of them instead of a period or a conjunction or a semicolon.
mostly what I
It,
do with commas is like, how long of a pause would I have here? Would it be like small or medium pause? Then maybe I'd put a
yes,
comma there.
that is a
That's
reasonable way to estimate where commas should go, approximately.
sometimes if I have a big sentence, then I'm like, what the fuck, this is way too big. I'm gonna put a comma in there somewhere. I think just making more paragraphs is a better way to do things. Like, have more paragraphs and they're like kind of more self-contained or something. I'm not sure. More paragraphs seems better for understanding if you can't write uh, large paragraphs well.
Yes. The comma splice thing's not that important, by the way. Usually when people do it, you can still understand what they meant just fine. I'm aware of them because I've been trying to stop doing them, though.
Hmm. Oh no.
They're a fairly common habit that a lot of people have. Anyway, so that was the distraction at the beginning. Any questions, or we move on now?
Wait, that was what beginning?
Distraction.
Oh, distraction.
I distracted
Okay.
us for 41 minutes with my
Wow.
headphones and with this thing.
Hmm. Mm, okay. There you go. Uh,
I thought it was
writing.
relevant because
Oh,
the thing we're talking about with gigahertz is um, the possibility of getting productive discussions with people.
mhm.
And so that was an example of a case where it's hard to have a productive discussion with someone.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I have to have a productive discussion with people, and we're like talking about how to have productive discussions. That seems like it makes sense. Yeah.
Here's a link. Bye. Okay. So back to gigahurt.
Okay.
Okay, now before we continue, Gigahurt watched the video and responded. So
Cool.
why don't you read through what he said?
Okay. To finish the tree. Okay, so it makes sense to him. I'm trying to read his first sentence and then think about what it means. This is something I once tried to practice, like read a sentence, then stop looking at it and try to remember what it means. I'm gonna try that here a bit though. I never really got really good at it, or like
Okay.
mediocre, but it's like something I think I can do. Okay, so said that makes. Wait, was that okay? Uh, I'm gonna reread it because I spent too long not reading it.
Okay.
So the tree is done. Okay, so he's gonna watch the video and he's not gonna comment anymore on like this discussion until the tree is done. And also I think he said something about taking notes that might be in the next sentence. Okay, hold off on posting anything more until the tree. Okay, it just says he'll hold off on posting. That doesn't mean he won't write anything more. He might still write some stuff, but whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
notes
second
are
question.
down here. They're later in the paragraph.
Okay, watched the video last night. Okay, that's pretty simple. It's just like saying that he watched the video last night. I don't really think you can really remove a word there. Uh, or the, I guess. I watched a video last night. That would be like it. Yeah,
All of
pretty
the words
simple.
there are pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Thank you for putting that together.
I mean,
So
if I
that's
was
just
gonna
like,
delete some, I'd delete last night and just say I watched the video and it'd be okay.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you for putting that together. That's just like, thank you for making the video. You put effort into this, and that might be helpful for me or whatever. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so
on the
you
situation.
can take some of the credit here too, I think. You helped make the video.
Oh, cool. Okay, it's not in a situation where I could easily take notes. He did pick up on a few things. Okay, so like maybe he was watching it on a couch on like a big screen TV and he didn't have the pen or paper or like a phone, or if he did, it was hard to take notes on them. So like that's what couldn't easily take notes. Maybe he was like tired
That's
and
not
his routine.
good.
Yeah, not in a situation where he could easily take notes. Okay, so for some reason couldn't easily take notes due to the situation. Well, yeah, for some reason is because of his situation. Okay, but he did pick up on a few things. He noticed a few things, and he like remembered them now, and now he's writing them.
Yeah.
Okay, what are my impressions? So, impression. That's just like kind of the things he got from it, like the ideas he had, an idea, feeling, or opinion about something, without conscious thought or on the basis of evidence. Okay, so this is like kind of what he like felt or like thought about a bit, and then he can like go forwards or like try to write more from that. So he could have like the impression like, oh, that comment about X seemed good, and then he could like start writing, be like, okay, comment on X was good, and then you could like try to go further. You could be like, comment on X was good because blah. Okay, sincerity. Appreciate the sincerity. Trying to understand my position. Re- Reciprocate, like return, give back as best I can. Okay, appreciate it. He's going to try to do like the same thing back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the feedback to include then explicitly. Do that moving forwards. Then, oh right, the then thing. It was like he said
Yeah,
something,
he had
and
an
then
if-then argument.
right, if then, like if X then Y, but he just said like if X, Y. So
Yeah.
it's like less explicit. Oh hey, and explicit. Yeah, so an implicit then, which he's gonna try to make explicit. Okay. Uh, okay, I'll put extra effort into brevity moving forwards. I don't know how important that is. Not sure how important brevity is. Like it seems like it's a good thing, uh, but I don't know if it's like something you should focus on too much unless you're like really bad at it.
Yeah, so there's different types of brevity. One is making your post shorter. Like this post isn't that brief, but it's not a big deal. The more relevant type of brevity is how many different ideas is he trying to bring up at the same time. So if he explains one idea for a long time, it's not going to add too many different things to the discussion tree. But if he brings up many different ideas, then it'll add a lot of things to the discussion tree at once.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, my concern is about how many things he brings up, not how long he spends on each one thing. Although the
Hmm.
more you write about something, you tend to bring up more issues
Hmm.
because of like sub issues and stuff.
Hey, that could be an argument against having more ideas. The more ideas you have, the higher chance one of them is wrong. So we should have fewer ideas.
I guess so, sort of.
And if that idea of having fewer ideas is wrong, then only one of our ideas was wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point. The fewer ideas you have, the fewer wrong ideas you'll have.
Maybe if you're dead, that would be the best, because then you'd have the fewest wrong ideas.
Okay, good luck with that.
With the tree-making idea. Okay. Extra effort, brevity. Experiment with tree-making idea. Current position. Current process. Paraphrasing. You will say one sentence per paragraph. Okay, so his current process for doing the trees is paraphrasing what people say one sentence per paragraph. I'm having problem with what people say one sentence per paragraph. Okay, I'm gonna read the next part of the sentence because that might. Oh wait, is that a comma split
That
after
was a but.
paragraph? Huh. I wasn't sure if but would be in the sentence.
But is a conjunction that allows you to have a second sentence. Or they're
Okay,
called clauses.
I like apples, but I like pears, but I am Christian, but I'm only partly Christian,
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
I do believe God. And that could be one sentence?
Yeah.
Huh. It would kind of be like on and in, or from. Okay.
Okay,
Exposing.
so there's a little bit of a writing error here. Writing error here, so it's a little more confusing. So you imagine that this words, these highlights are in parentheses,
Okay.
and then it'll be easier to read.
My current process involves paraphrasing what people say. Like, and then like, oh yeah, by the way, like one sentence per paragraph is like what I'm trying to
Yeah,
see what they
that's the
say.
type of paraphrasing he does. Is he creates one paraphrase sentence for every paragraph they write.
Okay, one paraphrase for every paragraph. So like there's a paragraph, and then he's like, okay, what do I think is the meaning of this? And then he like paraphrases the meaning, or no, he paraphrases the paragraph into what he thinks the meaning is. Yeah,
Yeah, and his version is one sentence long instead of one paragraph.
yeah. So like maybe he'll condense 3 sentences into a one sentence paraphrase. How
Yeah,
exposing. Okay, so huh. Okay, so how much problem would the like not having parentheses actually have affected me? Right now I'm like kind of thinking about something. Oh yeah, how much I'm actually having problems reading this is like due to them or due to me. I could still get better at it either way. Uh, but I'm worried that I'm trying to feel good about them being bad instead of me being bad at reading. Yeah.
It's both. He could have written better, and you can get better at reading. If you get good enough at reading, you can read stuff way worse than this.
Hmm. So I can read like mega bad things, and I'll be able to read them really well.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems a good skill maybe.
Yeah.
If you
This
can
one's
read
pretty
mega bad
mild.
things, then like you can read like pretty much any grammar mistake someone might make. Like if you can read the worst thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you see how exposing the structure? Okay, I don't see how I see how exposing the structure could be beneficial. I like to experiment with.
So do you know what he's talking about when he says structure?
Mm, I'm guessing it's tree. You highlighted tree.
Yeah, okay, that was a hint. So the topic he's talking about is tree making. So it has something to do with that.
The thing I'm kind of confused at is the but. It seems like kind of a
What
counterpoint.
he's trying to say is I do this right now, but I see the benefits of the thing you're doing, the tree making thing.
I don't like the experiment. All right, so he currently does X. He'll experiment with uh, okay, he currently does paraphrasing. He will experiment with tree making uh, because he sees how the structure could be beneficial. Like currently, I'm
Yeah.
doing paraphrasing, but I see how trees could be useful.
Yeah. And the structure he's talking about is like this. This is structure where you see different connections.
Yeah.
This is different than if you paraphrase things like this, you're doing one sentence for each of their paragraphs, then you don't have structure, it's just like a line.
Yeah.
Structure is like this instead of the organized thing.
So you could be like, violence bad, also pears are good. And then the other person could be like, I like violence, pears suck, eat apples. And like in a tree, that would look different than in a line. It would like actually follow each point. So like you have the violence sucks point, and then like the other person has the violence is good point, and then you could have the pears are good point, then the other person could have the no they're bad point. And they wouldn't be like in the same line. Yeah. Experiment. What? Pink is. Okay, what am I doing? Reading this highlighted. Okay, so we saw the tree could be beneficial. The closest I have come to reading about a technique like this was sentence diagramming. Okay, we talked about sentence diagramming, I think, in a previous tutoring.
Yep.
You know, I compared it to trees.
Yeah, it's more confusing.
Hmm.
Has more special rules.
Yeah.
More complicated.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And so he asked me a question, so I responded and I linked into some stuff.
Yeah. Okay. With David Deutsch and Ash correlating. Interesting. Okay, so we talked about like David Deutsch and like talking with people of like different skill levels of you or whatever, and he's saying that that conversation was interesting. Is that right in the first sentence? Actually, with intellect. Okay, rationality of conversation not correlating with intellectual status. Okay, that was different from what I was thinking, I think. Uh, okay, I said something about like just generally high status people talking to lower status people, I think, but he was mentioning like high status does not mean good conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like high status not equal good conversation, interesting discussion.
Yeah. It's a little awkward because this is one of the things I was going to argue with him in a discussion. But then I just told him in the video, so now he's like already changing his mind before I like respond to him. I can live
Huh.
with that.
Okay. It seems to indicate intellectual does not select for rationality. Each contribution is lower than one would expect. Okay, so he's saying that intellectual standings, like being really high status, does not mean being really smart or like actually good. And he said something else about that, like being interesting and worth analysis. I forget exactly what the last things were.
Yeah, he
Or
thought it was interesting, and he says it seems to indicate, and then it sounds like he's maybe kind of agreeing with me, although he doesn't seem like super sure yet.
yeah, so it's like worth looking into. Further reading required.
Yeah, he could mean that. Also note, he says intellectual standing or intellectual status. So what he means is there are different types of social status. Like, Kanye West has high social status, but not as an intellectual.
Yeah.
And then there's some people like Steven Pinker who have high social status as an intellectual. There's a particular type of people think you're smart rather than people think you're good at music or whatever.
Yeah. I took status and standing to mean the exact same thing, like intellectual status and standing.
Okay,
Uh,
great.
was that bad or good?
Good. Well, because he used the word intellectual before it, so it's good here. And he said what
Okay.
type of status and what type of standing he meant. So I just wanted to highlight that that's different than social status in general. There are other types.
Okay. So like specifically intellectual status. You could have like music status, you could have political status, you can have different statuses. Or maybe
Yeah,
you could be like really popular or cool and you have like surfboarding status and multilingual status and music status or whatever.
sure.
Gun community status and music status. That's like Ted Nugent or something. He does the music and the guns. Okay, next thing. The point about getting better teammates when teams are selected randomly was interesting. Okay, so we talked about like
You know what
team
MMR is?
matchmaking rating or something. I'm not exactly sure. It's like
Yeah, close enough. Like your
okay.
Overwatch SR.
I think I remember Skyline talking about like there's your like displayed SR and then there's like a hidden MMR.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
like
It's your real SR, not the one they show you.
yeah. Okay. Okay, so the point was like get better teammates by becoming better yourself. Like don't make it a project to improve them, especially because it's only going to be for one fucking game that you play with them. If it was like actual teammates where like uh you were like in a team like an Overwatch League team or whatever, then like you kind of need to get better with them. Like at least try for a month, please, before you rage quit on your team. Okay, so we found that interesting. Okay. Getting better teammates when teams are... Okay, what is he saying? I'm not exactly sure what his first sentence is saying.
This
Uh,
one?
yeah.
Okay, well, what's the verb?
Okay, the
The
point
main
about...
one.
Okay, about... Gissing is my first candidate. Better team members. When is my second, but I think when might not be a verb. R is my third selection, and I think it's the most likely right now. And then there's was, which is fourth candidate, and I'm not sure. Okay, I think was is the verb. That's my initial feeling.
Okay, if was is the verb, what is the subject that does the wasing?
Okay, like the point was interesting. Point, okay, was point interesting.
Point was in. Yep, you got it. This other stuff is modifiers. We have about. Let's say point about. So this is a modifier phrase.
Hmm.
And so this whole thing is a modifier on point.
So it's like about getting better team members when teams are selected randomly as a function of MMR. Wait, so would there be a comma at the end of MMR? That seems like it might be the point of a
No.
comma. Uh,
You're actually
huh.
not supposed to put commas in between the subject and the verb. It's an important rule. You
Oh.
can in certain cases, but in general, try to avoid it.
Okay. The points
If
about
you want
X was
commas, you have
interesting.
to have two of them. You can have comma, comma. If you put
Uh-huh.
two commas around something, it's like a weaker version of parentheses, and that would be
Huh.
okay. But you could not use a single comma here, that would be wrong.
Okay. And I think like having hyphens in between is like a super version of parentheses, like really
Yes.
important. Like read this.
Yeah. They're called dashes.
Oh, huh. Dashes. I don't know what the
It's
difference is.
it's called a
They're the
hyphen
same
when it's
thing.
joining words like big dick.
Huh.
And then it's dashes when it's like separating words like Joe, the coolest guy, went home.
Wait, so what if you had like Joe, who is the coolest guy? That seems like would be like a new clause or something. It seems like would be kind of like what per preposition does. Like Joe, the coolest guy. Like the coolest guy are all gonna
This?
be modifiers of Joe. Yeah. So this seems like who is gonna be
Yeah,
a
so
modifier of
this
Joe, and
this
then the
phrase
cool
with the
guy.
who is a modifier on Joe.
Okay. And so is the coolest guy would all be
Alright.
like
I
children of
said
who, I
phrase,
think.
but this is a clause. This clause with the
Okay,
who
with clause.
is a child of Joe that modifies Joe.
Okay, and like all the words are okay, so who goes directly below Joe, then all the other words are like below who, right?
Yes.
Okay, but in the first sentence, the coolest guy, those are all just like wait, cool. Okay, guy is gonna be modifier of Joe, then coolest is gonna be modifier of guy, and then the is gonna be modifier of guy.
Yeah.
Huh. I was thinking they're all gonna be modifiers of Joe at first, but then it's like it's not the coolest. It's not like Joe's coolest, or it's the Joe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got it.
Okay. And then you have went, which is gonna be the verb, I think. And then
Yes.
oh wait, is went R? I mean B?
No.
Oh. Okay. Uh back to other thing. MMR. Then hyphen. Uh
You
okay, and
should
then it was
probably
the
just
point.
memorize every version of B. You can look in the dictionary, like
Hmm.
make some flashcards or something, just memorize these words and it'll be useful.
Huh.
Not that many.
Okay, is this a version of B or not? Test. Ah.
Okay, how many underlines is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 10 things. There's 10 versions.
Okay, so there's 10 B's. Okay, there's B, being, and bean, which would be like really easy.
Yeah, those ones pretty easy.
Okay, MR is like R. Okay, was, were. Okay, I'm confused at the two
Oh, I have R
W.
twice. Oops. Alright, there's only 9.
Okay, and then, hmm. M
Oh, I have B
R.
twice as well. Alright, there's only 8.
I guess like B being bean. Those are like easy enough.
Yeah.
We was were like I can like do those later
Is
maybe.
Amar, was, were, be, being, been.
Okay. Mm. It's like went is not one of
Maybe
those.
write a list of those.
Okay. So we have
Yeah.
okay, I don't know why I feel like is similar to M and R.
Because you're
Uh,
a native English speaker, that's why. You're just used to it.
okay, so it's, on the thing it says singular present MR is. Like I am Iron Man, he is Iron Man, and we are Iron Man. Those are like present things, like currently.
Yes. Yeah, these are the present tense of the word. So they're all the same word and they're all present tense. So that's why they're all similar and that's why you relate them together. And then the next two are the past tense. And the other three are the like specialer versions.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure how the be being bean is. Maybe not too important. Hmm. Okay. Were. What? Okay, there's something else which really felt like it was a B that I just thought about 10 seconds ago, but now I forgot about it.
Oh. Was it went? That was earlier.
Yeah, went, I think. Oh, wait, no. Went's like an action, though. Yeah, that was earlier, but then
Yeah, went is a version of go.
go. Huh.
Yeah, it is irregular,
Go.
meaning it
That's
doesn't
like
follow a simple pattern. Like it should be goed, you know? You add the ed ending to make past tense.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you should just say
He
go and
go.
add ed. But if you say goad, people will be like, wow, are you 3?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you
Because
can't really
3
say
year
he
olds
go.
are smart enough to notice patterns, like that ed is how you make past tense, and then they try to use the pattern, and then people make fun of them.
Huh.
Because obviously, the past tense of go is went.
That's
Because, like, for more or less everyone's parents, that is in fact currently obvious to them. Even though it makes no actual sense, it's just like a thing they memorized.
huh.
I mean, it
So
probably
he's
makes a
like,
little bit of sense somehow. Like, there's got to be some reason it happened. I don't think it's random, but it does. It's kind of random.
hmm. So like you make fun of the wait, make fun of the children, uh, because there's like patterns like Lee and id. It's like uh, uh, okay. Continuing with the sentence, I think. Okay, so go's version of went could be good, but then that's ed. Yeah. MR. In games they've played, MR has function of winning and losing matches, while taking into account MR of the opposing team and scaling MR gain loss relative to that. Okay, so he's saying that the games he's played, MMR, like, checks opponent's team's MMR, your team MMR, and then, like, you lose or gain depending on, like, the difference, whatever. They have some kind of formula or something. Well, the thing, it, like, looks at the opposing team's MMR, then it, like, that's, like, the base. They like start at the opposing team's MMR, and then they look at your team's MMR, and then that decides how much you're supposed to lose and gain. That seems wrong, I feel like, because like, what about the opposing team? How is their MMR scaled? Like, how do they decide? Like, the game looks at your team and is like, okay, we're gonna base what like how much MMR you should gain or lose based off of the enemy team's overall MMR. And then like, how does the enemy team's overall MMR get decided? Like, how does their, or how much do they get from a win or loss? How is that decided? Like, they look at the other enemy team's MMR? That seems like it might be like technically wrong, but not too big of a deal. Unless they like actually do just do the calculation twice and it's just like based from the enemy team's MMR, but like the result will always be the same, so who cares?
I was not paying a lot of attention. Is there any question you need an answer to? Or were you just thinking out loud?
I don't really think, okay, I don't know if there's a question that really needs answering. The only thing I really said was that uh, the sentence was saying your skill gain or skill loss is based on the enemy team's overall MMR. So like the game looks at the enemy team's overall MMR and then like compares your team's MMR to that. But that seems weird because like let's say there's player enemy on the like player one on the enemy team and player two, or no, you're player one. There's an enemy player who's player two. So it like looks at player two and then it compares you to player, then it compares player one to player two, and he's saying like that's how they decide, uh, like how much you gain or lose MMR. But then I'm like, okay, but how does player two get his skill? Or like, how
Yeah,
do
so
they
the
decide?
standard thing they do is they figure out the average for both teams. In a one versus one game, they would just use each person's rating. But in a team game, then they average the people on each team to get a rating for the team. And then they compare the two ratings, so the red team rating and the blue team rating. And they have a standard amount of MMR change. So like, let's say the standard is if you win, you gain plus 20. If you lose minus 20. But then they say, oh look, red team is 100 points higher rated, so we adjust it. And then if the red team wins, they get plus 15. Red team loses minus 25. And blue team gets opposite, plus 20, plus 25 or minus 50.
Okay. Thing that seemed weird is it's like, uh, he said that it's always based off of the enemy team. Like the enemy team is always the starting point for the calculation. Is kind of what I
Yeah,
got.
it has to be based off both teams. Yeah, his thing was a little confusing. I don't know
Okay.
if he,
I don't think this matters at all, really, or like not
yeah,
much, but it's just like one
he,
grammar thing I noticed from like actually analyzing it. So that was fun that I found a
yeah,
thing.
he might not know how it works, or it might just be that his wording was a little careless.
Hmm.
Or like he
Yeah.
was
I
just
don't,
focusing on like the opposing MMR and scaling loss relative to that, which is true, but you don't use just your own MMR. In most games, they're going to use the average team MMR, so that if you have a bunch of high rated players on your team, you get less for winning, even though you're low rated, or
okay.
vice versa.
All right. Okay. So you get more if you're rated. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, a different way to put it is, so you have a certain rating. If the players on your team are higher rated than you get less for winning because you have these people who are helping boost you. On the
Yeah.
other hand, if the people on your team are lower rated than you, if they're worse than you, then you gain more if you manage to carry them.
Hmm. Okay. If you carry them. Huh.
Yeah, so the more you have to carry your teammates, the more points you get. But the more you get carried, the fewer points you get.
Hmm. But if it's like everyone in the game is like 3000 SR, but you're like 2800 SR and you're the only one who has like, it's like everyone on team one is
Yeah.
like
Then
3000.
then your opponents are even higher rated than your teammates. Or, about the same, but their team's higher rated than your team, so you'll gain some bonus points. But if everyone's 3,000 and you're 3,200, then your team's higher rated and you get a few fewer points.
Okay, if rational discussion could have an MR, how would it be calculated? Okay, so this is just asking, like, if we could have like some kind of rating system for rational discussion, like, how would we do it? That seems very fucking hard. I don't know the question to that, or the answer to that, but I think I know what the question is asking, so that's good. Okay, entire video with rational place you're coming from. Okay, so like the entire video, like when he was watching the video, the impression he got from it, like the main kind of overarching thing that was like through the entire video, is he misunderstood where Elliot was coming from, or falsely assumed things about the place you're coming from. Okay, was that
Yeah,
he falsely assumed, not
yeah, so,
misunderstood. There's
yeah, so he
misunderstood and
had some
falsely assumed.
previous guesses about who I am and what I'm doing and so on. Then he watched the video and he was like, oh, you're different than I thought you were. So I think his opinion went up. So that's good.
Okay, I'm not sure. Falsely assumed and misunderstood. I'm not sure how big of a difference there is. I don't think there's big of a difference. Initial impression.
Yeah, it's not that big. They're fairly similar.
Yeah, I see more clear how you're trying to build a process by which to discuss things with people rationally. So the seriousness with which you take them down. Okay, so he sees more clearly. So before it was less clear, but now more clear that you're trying to build a process to rationally discuss with people. I think that's just people in general.
Yes.
And I forget what the next sentence was. What was next? Uh, okay, I forget what the next part was. Oh, and the seriousness with which you take that endeavor. So you are taking this endeavor seriously.
Yes. So lots of compliments.
Okay. I hope, but a bit different. I think the bar we each set for minimum acceptable rational communication may be different. Yeah, so like you set the bar like pretty high, and then like he might set it lower, or other way around, or maybe
Yeah,
it goes
it's
sideways
not
to the right.
exactly a bar. It depends what people are doing. Like, you don't have to be a perfect communicator to talk with me. It's more like, how patient are you if I ask you clarifying questions, or point out some of your mistakes. Will you try again? If you're willing to do that, it's okay. But if you want to say, well, I already told you that, and you won't like explain things further when I have an issue with them, then it doesn't work very well. Like, I want people who are willing to revise things and make them better when I take issue with them.
Mhm. It's like if the Abramedemski guy was like, "Oh my God, like you completely just refuted my article. Here's a rewriting, which I think here's like a rewriting of the first few paragraphs, or like a really key paragraph in the article. Do you think this makes it much better?" Then that'd be like seriously taking criticism. Like this
Yeah, that
entire
would be
article on
way
the
better
right
to deal with.
website was like criticized. Like, oh my God, can you help criticize it more?
Yeah, people usually don't react like that though. Okay, so one more sentence.
My hope is that I can recalibrate, sharpen my own bar by continuing the discussion. Okay, so what his hope is that he can recount. His hope is that his bar more accurate after this discussion.
Yes, he
Or
wants to get better. That's good.
I feel like goal is better. I don't know why. saying things
of my
with like
goal.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Goal would be a better word there. I mean,
I'm trying to
it
think
depends what
about.
he means. Like, he might mean hope. Hope might be more accurate. But if he said goal and it was the right word to represent what he meant, then it would be better. Like, having goals is better than having hopes. Hopes are okay, but like,
Like, I
goals are
hope I get a
nicer.
Lamborghini versus my goal is to get a Lamborghini.
Yeah,
Like, hope is kind of like, I just hope I get it. But goal is like, okay, what are the options to get a Lamborghini? Like, how much does it cost? How much money do I need? Like, 500K. Okay, how to get 500K?
yeah, yeah. Goal sounds more like intentional, and you're gonna like do planning and stuff. But the thing he says sounds like he's, taking actual steps to make it happen, like continuing the discussion. He's not just sitting there hoping to get lucky.
Yeah, so
So,
like the impression
pe
you get is it's like his goal, he wants to do this.
yeah, people say hope partly to sound more humble, and
Huh.
partly to not commit themselves to it as much. If you say this is my goal, then you can like fail at your goal. But if you say this is my hope, and then you don't get it, you're like, well, I still hoped for it. Like, you know,
Huh.
it's like harder to fail. So it's but that doesn't have to be like a conscious thing. People do that kind of thing habitually. It's part of the social dynamics that people get really used to.
Hmm. It's like if you fail your goal, people might be like, huh, so you failed your goal, you're gonna try another one. Like, what makes you think this one's gonna succeed? And then you might be like, okay, I'll just stop using the word goal and stop taking it as seriously. Okay, that's what I can read. Last sentence, paragraph. There are many funny moments as well. There were many funny. Okay, stream had funny moments. Uh, I also am sure I missed some important ideas in my summary above. Okay, he thinks, well, he's sure. He's like very confident that he missed important things in his summary above. Uh, where's am I at? Okay. In either case, I'll go into standby until she is done. So like in either case, wait, so if either of the conditions are true, he's going into standby. So it's like an or gate. Like, well, maybe it's a gate where no matter what happens, he's going into standby until like X condition. This part is not. In either case. There are funny moments. I am also sharing this. Like, I'm kind of confused about the in either case. It doesn't seem like it really fits there. I only see like one thing where he said like, I am also sure. Okay, what is this also from? I think we did something similar to this. Like, where does that relate to?
Oh, I think it relates to his whole post. It's just like, here's another thing I have to say. Like, I've said some things, and then here's another thing. I don't think it's related to the previous sentence very much.
Okay, so it's just like entire post. Also, uh, I'm sure I missed some things. In either case, though,
Yeah,
that's
the last paragraph, he's just sort of like, here are the final things I wanted to say. That they don't really
okay.
go together that much. He just had a few other things to say.
Okay. I'm gonna say once it's done, and we can drive for the discussion off the tree. Okay, so he's just gonna wait until tree happens, then we can do the further discussion from the tree. Thank you again for putting that together. The tree, I think. That or the video? That might be the video.
Yeah, I think it's the video. Or,
Because
I
like
don't
the
know,
tree's
it's hard to tell. It could be either one.
not. Okay, how long did it take me to get through that? Minus 40 minutes ago. Let's see. Yes, it took like maybe 50 minutes, I think.
Okay, do you think you understand it pretty well?
Hmm. Okay, so this entire post. So this is talking about like him watching the video and then like the notes he got from the video, which like I paraphrased the notes he got from the video. They're like generally positive. They aren't really criticisms. They're like, oh, these are some interesting things. I could like learn more about these things. And then the last thing was like, I'm gonna wait for the tree to come out, and then we'll discuss more. Uh, so yeah, I'm afraid of saying I understand something. Yeah.
It sounds like you understand it okay.
Okay.
Okay, so last time we got this far. So
Huh.
now we're on this paragraph.
Okay. To the main tree. I'm gonna water. Oh no, I'm out of water. I'm gonna get water. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so the thing we're doing is making a tree. We're making a tree of something. Of a discussion? Okay, you have a discussion with gigahurt. And you're gonna make a tree of it. And I'm gonna make a tree of it. This is new family. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna read the sentence of what people want. I don't mean being only super agreeable. I'm gonna read the previous paragraphs to remember what's actually happening. Good one. Every conversation with end mutual understanding. Okay, so like motivation is good, and the ideal is that conversations end in like mutual agreement or like understanding. At the same time, people tend to resent a sense of control. Okay, so there's like the ideal, and then like people resent attempts at control. So like that's something to do with the ideal. Okay, part of living in a free country, don't control people. You can do is try to do the ideal behavior, and too bad people don't meet your standards. I try to spend energy at like being good, instead of trying to make other people good. Okay, like if you do the same and your theory of what people want from a conversation partner accurate, then you'll have no shortage of people to have engaging discussions with, uh, and you will be granted the clarity and closure you seek. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Okay.
remember it okay?
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's if then there, and like I hypothesize that like we should just try to do the ideal, and like too bad if people aren't like uh doing the ideal. Try to just continue. Mm-hmm. Disagreements solved. Take a speech call. Country. Deal. Okay. By what people want, I don't mean by what people want. Okay, where's what people want? Was that in like the speech control thing? Okay. That's right. Okay, and your theory of what people want from a conversation partner. If you do the same, and your theory of what people want from a conversation partner, where's that? Period speech control. Okay, it's over here. Where does this go? Okay. We wrote this,
I
and
have
then
it
I
here.
put it in the tree.
If you do this well enough, including understanding what people want in conversations, then you'll get good enough conversations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So I guess I can summarize this. It's like if you uh, do the ideal and understand people, then good conversations. Like if you do the ideal and understand what people want, then you get good conversations. Uh, okay. Okay. Mm, okay. Dealing. Huh. Okay, and then by what people want, that like almost definitely has to be a child of this. Being only super flattering. Okay, he doesn't mean being like super agreeable or flattering. He's like clarifying. This is like clarifying. Tact
Yes.
and
He's
respect.
clarifying what he's talking about. It doesn't mean this. He does mean this. You need to do this. And then this part is like a separate point.
Need
He
to
kind of has
apply.
two different things here in one paragraph. So read this far, I think, and then we'll split up the other part.
Like disagreeing will make. Wait, yeah, this is already the different. It's over here. So some, okay. Okay, so this is a clarification. I don't know if it should just be in the original thing. I don't feel like this clarification, I don't know if this clarification should be another node because it's like in the same mention. It's just like describing what he already talked about, but like more. He just like put it
Yeah.
in a
I
different
think separate
paragraph.
node is good. Helps keep things split up into little parts.
Okay,
Clarification.
yeah. So you can mark it with like clarification, like this is what the cation. Don't try to like be super agreeable. Being
Already.
super agreeable flattering with the
Okay.
chat. Don't try to feel. Like I'm just having problems with like don't try to be super agreeable or flattering. I'm not sure how to like uh summarize that, I guess. Yeah.
People
Like
want
what
stuff
is it?
other than. What did he say? He said go with more. People want more than super agreeable or flattering. People want. Okay. Yeah. So he says not only these ones, which I paraphrased as more than these ones. And then I listed the other ones he says people want in like a decent list to quote.
Huh,
Oh, and he
I
also
guess.
mentions interest. Interesting. There, added the other one.
Only super agreeable flattering. Okay, so it could mean partly being super agreeable. Flattering. Okay, at first I was kind of taking it as meaning like don't be agreeable or flattering, but then I see like I don't mean only being.
Yeah.
I
What he's trying to
like
say is there's a stereotype of be like really pandering, super agreeable, flattering, sucking up to people, brown nosing, always agreeing with them, etc. Um, and he doesn't think that that is what you do to give people what they want. He doesn't think that's what they actually want. And I agree with him. But that does not mean they want none of that. People definitely like, some of that, but they want some other stuff too. If you only do that, it's not good enough. You're not going to fool everyone. You will fool some people, but a lot of people will see through you.
it's like women might get that a lot, and then they do things to filter out those people. And like dating, I think that might be what a shit test is, or not exactly. It might work though for that. Like, are you just trying to? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, continue. Argument. But okay, don't just be super flattery agreeable. Okay, it's like don't. I don't really know what suck up means. Don't be. I'm just gonna say flattery agreeable. I'm having a hard time paraphrasing it.
Yeah, that's fine. You can repeat his words. I repeated some of his words.
Agreeable. Don't just be like only.
Yeah.
I don't know what tact means. To the dictionary. Tact.
That's not a very useful definition. Let's try a different one.
Keen sense of what to do or say in order to maintain good relations with others or avoid offense. It's like know how to not offend people, be like sensitive, have a good like meter
Here's a better
for
one. This definition's way better.
a careful way of learning. This is like the Merriam-Webster definition I got. It seems pretty good.
That one's okay. I like the Macmillan one more.
Huh.
The New Oxford one was kind of bad.
Speaking.
A
Can't speak.
careful way of speaking or behaving that avoids upsetting other people.
Yeah.
I think that's really clear.
Really
Here's another mediocre one. Mediocre. There's a bunch of similar ones, and then the Macmillan one is better. Let's try OED. Ready and delicate sense of what is fitting and proper in dealing with others so as to avoid giving offense or win goodwill. Skill or judgment in dealing with men or negotiating difficult or delicate situations. The faculty of saying or doing the right thing at the right time. Yeah, that one's okay. But I still prefer Macmillan.
like simple, easy, small, and
Yeah.
like
This
concise.
one's easier to understand than all of the other ones.
Be tact, brief, respectful, to feedback. Yeah. It's only saying receptivity to feedback. You could be receptivity to like, oh no, my child just died. Whatever. Although I guess that would break respect or tact. Attentive to others' qualities and values. You need to appeal to other interests. Okay, there's mine.
Okay. Yeah, so you think you understand that part?
Yeah, it's like a clarification, like saying like what he means by this, what he doesn't mean by this.
Yeah, and do you understand all the words? Like, so we did tact, what about brevity?
That's like being brief, like kind of being more quick. It doesn't necessarily
Yes.
mean like
Right, respect.
concise is a different word.
Yeah, it's similar to
Respect.
concise.
Yeah, concise is like not losing any of the ideas, but like doing them really small, I think. Okay. Respect. Uh, hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure I know which one that is. I definitely very much have a feeling like I know what it's supposed to mean, but then I try to think about it, and I'm like, I'm not really sure.
That one's not that good. Let's try something else. Yeah, this one's okay. Yeah, both of these together.
Deferential. I'm
Yeah,
not sure what that.
deferential relates to defer to, meaning like let them take the lead or do things their way.
It's like it wouldn't be respectful to be oh, are you sure you can order? Let me order for you. You might not know how to if you're like on a date. That could be
Yeah,
like
that would be
offensive.
condescending. Yeah, so respect involves treating people like you have a high opinion of them, so that they look high status. It also involves not violating them or interfering with them, like punching is disrespectful.
Okay.
To regard with honor.
Huh. Is this an older dictionary one?
Yeah. some degree of reverence. Okay, good enough. Next word.
Yeah. Okay, receptivity to feedback. It's like they say something about feedback, they give you a feedback, and you're like receptive. That's like receive. You receive the feedback, and then receptivity means like you do something about it, I think. It's not just like receiving. Like you could be very good at receiving feedback. Like someone tells you something, then you know exactly what they said. You received it very well. Uh, but like receptivity would mean more like then you need to do something with it. Like how well do you do
No,
with receiving it?
your
Uh,
receptivity just means receiving it, but it is implied that you probably do something with it. But the word receptivity doesn't mean doing stuff with it more than the word receiving or the other similar words. It's like the
huh.
same as the other ones. It's just a noun form. Receptivity is a noun version. It makes it into a thing. As opposed to like receive, which is a verb, or receptive, which is an adjective. Or receptively, which is a adverb. So basically
Okay.
it means you listen to feedback. And yeah, there is an implication that you do something about it instead of just listening and being like, okay, I heard you, and then not caring.
Yeah. I was thinking of the receptivity and like the specific sentence like meaning to do something. I don't think I was talking about it from like the word as like literal definition. Uh, I think this is true. The words I just said.
Okay. Clear enough or ready to move on or no?
Ready to move on. I think it's clear
Okay,
enough. So like,
attention.
uh, okay. Yo, attention. Okay. Example of not attention. Someone says a reply to you. You're like, I don't really care that much, or like you barely read it, like you skim
Yeah.
every fifth word, or like you skim so you only look at every fifth word, and then you're like, eh, I guess I'll just like write a quick thing. You're not really paying much attention. You don't really care too much. Or like you're reading a book, and then you just like, okay, I guess I'll look at this comment while I'm like barely paying attention to it, and then you like glance over the words. Like being very sensitive to it though would be like, okay, there's a comment, let's read it. And then you're like, okay, it says this thing and this thing and this thing and that thing. So that would be like attentive attention. Huh. Okay, so I tried to start with like a situation like that would apply to it. Like what would not having attention look like? Like what would having attention look like? Okay. It's like kind of focusing on a thing, like paying attention. Like attention is like focusing on a thing, putting effort into knowing what it is, not just like uh, glancing over it quickly.
Yes. Okay, what about other qualities people value?
Mm, other things similar to respect, receptivity, feedback, other things like that that people value. Uh, that's what I feel like it is.
Yeah, so it means his list is not complete. There's
Yeah.
more stuff he
So
didn't list.
it's like honorable, chivalrous.
Okay, what
Okay,
about
you need
appeal
to.
to other person's interest?
Mm, I'm not sure. I feel like it's kind of like, oh, they're really interested in talking about AGI. You can't have to appeal to that. Don't just swap to like capitalism.
Yeah, so don't just talk about whatever things you think are interesting. Appeal to things they think are interesting and talk about some of those.
Mm, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Now we have this other part. Some qualities essential to discussion, like disagreeing, will make certain folks back off, even if you do it in the kindest way possible. But I don't think that's something that can be changed by policy or any other external action. I think it's something they need to solve on their own. Okay, first question. When he says an external action, what does that mean?
External action. Okay, the way I very much feel like it's supposed to be interpreted is like another human being can't do something like to change that actively. They can't be like, hey, you're wrong about this. That's not going to work. They can't like maybe even link an article. I think like if they link an article and are like, hey, read this article, this will show why you need to change uh, like the way you take disagreements, then that also wouldn't work. I feel like it would kind of have to be them doing something on their own and like finding something on their own. I think if they like found the article their own, then that would count.
Yeah, I mean, even if you link the article, maybe they'll think about it and learn on their own. It's not out of the question just because you linked it to them. But anyways, yeah, so external action. External means outside of. So
Mhm.
an action that is outside of what? What's the thing that it's external to?
External action, like their own decision making. Uh,
Yeah, I would just say the person or like their mind. Like changing the person by something outside of the person,
this
such as
seems.
anything I do.
Would writing a blog post be an external action that could change it?
Yeah, if I write a blog post to try to change their mind, that would be an external action, and he thinks that's not going to work with some people.
Yeah, I think he means like more direct, like actively making, like actively trying to make someone do something, kinda.
Yeah, he's worried about people trying to change each other, and he thinks sometimes you just have to kind of give up. Um, so I disagree because he used words like um, way possible. So when you bring up a thing like possible, you're saying it's impossible the other way. So I think that's too strong.
Yeah, I think I remember you, maybe it was like phrase, he used the word possible too much. Like, yeah, like possible is a very strong word. It's like, uh,
Yeah,
is it literally against the laws of physics?
right.
Like,
So he says, I don't think it can be changed, which again is a strong wording. And then he says, or any other external action. So he's saying there's no possible action. So yeah, I think it's too strong. People write that way a lot. I don't think he means it quite how he said it. I think he's trying to give like practical advice about what generally works and doesn't work. So he's right that it is. It's hard to talk to some people about disagreements, and leaving them alone is often a good idea. And if this is like say a third of all the people, or even half, that's okay. There's still not going to be a shortage of discussion, right? We can
yeah,
like leave half the people alone, and we'll still have enough to discuss with. So
yeah.
if some people are like this, that doesn't mean he's wrong. It's compatible with his view, so it's okay.
Okay, so you can like still find other people to discuss with, like too bad. And like even if it's like 90% of people, like if you go to a forum to discuss, that's probably gonna be like at least a 50-50 split because like the people who are interested in discussing and don't feel bad from disagreements would be like more willing to go to the forums. Uh, no. Okay, so you're adding a node, and that made me think about the tree, but I wasn't thinking about the tree earlier.
Yeah. So I added a node for that part.
Okay, so let's
I kept it simple.
go zoom. Think. Five. Okay. Um, mm, Okay, some parts essential to discussion, like the really important things to discussion, will change, won't work on some people. That's like can't do anything about that. Like, mm, mm, I can't really do anything about that right now. Thing about that, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think you got it.
He said can't really do anything about that. He might have said can't.
Yeah, close enough. That's fine. Okay, so the next part is what I replied to him.
Okay, then I asked if he wanted to try to dissolve one of our disagreements by discussion. Yes. Okay, I'm not sure if
This part I
wanting
was
to
just gonna
resolve.
leave out because it's not really part of the topic.
It seems like kind of a general thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a side discussion.
What people want from a discussion partner and what sort of discussion partners are in shortage. Okay, so like your point is like our models about what people want from discussion partner, and like the amount of discussion partners is really different.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that would go in the tree. It seems like it would kind of go at the top, and it would be like, uh, this is kind of what our discussion is about.
Okay, so I was gonna put it in response to the thing that I was disagreeing with. So I put it right here.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Okay. I disagree. Okay, so what are you disagreeing with? He's saying that like if you do X, then Y. I disagree with like that. So like if you do the idea and understand what people want, then good conversations. You disagree. It's like I Alright, I disagree. I don't know if I should just quit this whole thing. Okay. How much do I think I could get rid of the like main point you like italicize at the end of your blog post? How much could I get rid of that?
You can get rid of some, but it's not a big deal either way if you do or don't.
I'm just gonna copy the whole thing, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you understand what I'm saying?
Uh, he's saying something about like if you know people, like if X then Y, you're disagreeing with his statement about if X then Y. And you think like your models are significantly different? Like I guess models
Yeah. So he
significantly different is like
mentioned
a detail.
what people want from a conversation partner, and whether it accurately models the world. And I'm saying, and then he says, then you'll have no shortage. So I'm disagreeing with this stuff. I'm saying, I think there is a shortage problem, and I think that an accurate model is different than you think it is, and then it makes the world look like a different place. I think an accurate model of what people want is kind of bad. Like there's problems with it. It's not like, oh, they want this and this and this. That's totally reasonable. I'll just do that and everything will be nice. It's like, oh, they want this and they want this. Oh shit, this is hard. It's like a real problem.
Huh. Okay. No problem. So like, his model is like kind of more optimistic, like things will work out, and you're like, no. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
what optimistic means. I remember there might be something with how people use that word. It might be something like optimism just means, do you think problems are like solvable? Uh, I forget exactly. That was like something relating to David Deutsch.
Yeah, he wrote some stuff about optimism. But yeah, here's a pretty normal definition.
It's like, or the successful outcome of something. It's like he's optimistic about the successful outcome of something.
Yeah,
Uh,
he thinks everything's gonna work out well. And I'm like, I don't know, I had a lot of experience with this stuff. I've been trying to figure out what's wrong with people, and I hate everyone. Not literally everyone, but you know, enough people that there's a bit of a shortage of non-hated people.
hmm.
Hatred's an exaggeration, not the best word. Um, don't respect. How about that? That's more accurate. Yeah, there's a shortage of people that I respect.
Huh. So is like honesty and integrity main thing that you'd respect?
Yeah, those are pretty high on the list. And I think that social dynamics is one of the main things that drives people to be dishonest, and it encourages them and incentivizes them to be dishonest. It's very hard to do all the social dynamic stuff and be successful at that while also being honest. I think there's a clash there, so it causes a lot of trouble.
Understanding integrity and honesty more is something that I would like to do. It's like a more general thing.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom out and make a new tree.
Zoom. No,
There
we're
we go.
making a new tree.
Yeah, I figured this tree got big enough, so I was just gonna make another one right under it.
Huh.
Okay. So, second discussion tree. Topic. That's way too big. Okay, so now I'm gonna make an arrow, and there we go. We have an arrow, and then we have another tree.
Can I do an arrow?
Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should just go under this and make child nodes. And have it be one complicated tree. Yeah, actually I'm gonna do that. Never mind.
Okay, big tree.
You can do it either way. It doesn't matter.
I want to do the big tree one because then I get to do more nodes maybe.
Well, I think it'll be like the same amount, pretty much. It's just
Oh,
where we put them. Okay. So now that was the curi response, and now gigahurt's gonna respond again. I'm gonna highlight the curi responses with a color or something.
what do I do?
My curi responses are going to have a red border. How about that? That's way more obvious. Most of the tree is gigahertz, so for now, I have a red border.
Cool. I can steal your idea. Okay, you get hexagonish and red border.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a hexagon. If hexagon literally just means 6 sides, then yeah, this would be a hexagon.
Yeah, I think it means 6 sides. It might mean 6 in regular, though. Let's see. Hexagon. 6 straight sides and angles.
Okay, there's a straight side, it's a straight angle, I think, so that should count.
Yeah,
There's
you're good.
something
It's a hexagon.
there's something with like rectangles versus squares though. Like I
Oh,
think a
so
square
This is a rectangle. This
Yeah.
is a square. Squares are also rectangles, but rectangles aren't squares.
Yeah. So that's why I wasn't sure if this could be a hexagon, because like it's not. That's the reason I think a square isn't, because it's like not evenly sized.
Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
now we have gigahertz response. So to review where we are, we got through this much, and now we have he wrote this response, and then I wrote this response. I wrote this much, and then he wrote more than fits on a page,
Mm.
and then I wrote just over a page, and then he wrote 1 page, 2 page, 2.5 page. He wrote like a really long one. This is why I started making the tree. It
Huh.
got way too long. And then that is where the discussion's up to. And then here is where I'm like, yo, you gotta wait. I'm working on a tree and it's not done. So that's how much more stuff there is. And I have to go in like 2 hours at most. And then we have tomorrow, so we're totally not gonna finish. I'll just finish the rest of the tree after you leave.
Okay.
But we can keep working on this one. What's the beginning say?
Glad to speak more about it. Okay, so what does that say? He's like willing to speak more about this.
Not just
It's like,
willing, but like happy.
yeah. So he's like going to speak more about it, or glad to speak more. Well, not necessarily will. I feel like you don't have to. Uh, it's something about like wanting and actually doing something. Seems like something similar to like Dominique in the Fountainhead. I don't really understand her, but yeah, she
Yeah,
kind of
he
will.
does say he will try.
Mhm. Okay, so he's got to speak more about this, and he will try. So maybe that could be a subtopic. Sure. Uh, or wants to speak more. I'll try to speak more about this. Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll try to respond to each within 24 hours. I'll check this forum at least once per day. I'm not sure how important. Oh, he's saying he'll try to reply in 24 hours. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
okay. Like, I'm
Which,
doing
considering how long his message got, if they kept getting longer, because I responded to everything he said and then he responded to everything, if you keep doing that, messages tend to get longer. So if we kept doing that, it would get like too hard for him to like respond every day and write that much every day.
yeah. Hmm. If people actually start doing tree discussions a lot more, do you think you might try to make some kind of tree discussion message system where you can like add to trees? Like one person can say something in one part of a tree, and then like the other person can reply in that part of the tree.
Yeah, there's already forum software kind of like that. People have, like, trees are not a new idea, and people have worked with them before and stuff.
Huh.
Um, and also I don't really want to write software because I'm busy. But, someone else might make it.
Hmm. I'm glad to talk this more. We'll try to respond within 24 hours. Okay, that's the node. I don't know if this should be a node, but I'm trying to just do more node. And for this topic, I have to adjusting my own mental model. Okay, this says regarding the proposed topic. I don't need to add that in a tree because anything below a topic is like regarding it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the child is regarding parent. Yeah, I was not even gonna put this into my tree, but you
Huh.
can have it, no big deal. But it's not about social dynamics. It's not about like the stuff we're trying to talk about, so I was just gonna leave it out and try to keep the tree for like important stuff. In fact,
Huh.
following that, I'm gonna delete this part where he said good attitude and try to stay on topic more. I'll leave that one out of my tree. I made like a comments in green, right? So I could put extra stuff and just label it green and say like this is not part of the main discussion and give it a different color. But I'll mostly just try to leave it out, I think.
Oh shit. I think the zoom goes uh, in or away from the thing you have selected. I found out how to do
Cool.
the zoom.
Okay, so next paragraph.
Okay. Uh, okay, resetting the tree. Next paragraph. First topic, I have an interest. I hope to have an interest cons. I am adjusting my own mental model. I hope we can help each other. Okay. Uh, Not sure what this would go in a tree if it would be a tree node.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna leave this out as well. But do you understand what he's saying?
Uh, okay. He hopes to have discussion where we can maybe help each other. And I think I forgot the rest of the sentence. I'm gonna read it. I hope to have an interesting discussion. Oh yeah, and he's open to adjusting his own mental model. His mental model is of like how people act. You said you disagree with like
Yeah.
uh kind of
So
models, whatever.
he's saying
I
he's
think
willing
our
to
model
change his
is.
mind, he's trying to be rational.
Okay, so that seems
He's not just gonna
I'm
yell at me until I agree with him. You know, he might actually listen.
so like that would kind of be like uh so that would kind of be like this, I think.
Sure.
I'm just gonna leave that one out and have the note in.
Okay, now we've got another paragraph.
Okay, so what's the third paragraph? Why are we skipping that?
Oh, by accident. I stand corrected.
Okay, they were very much off the top of my head, but I did not know. Okay, so that's kind of a clarification to his list, I think. Where's the list go?
Yeah, this one doesn't say very much, and I did read it earlier. So I wasn't gonna write anything for it.
I had a small clarification.
Clarification of clarification.
Clarification. Yeah. Tough, like very much off the top of the head. Like,
Yeah, like, it means it's not his finalized opinion. If I find some, like, you missed something, he's not gonna be like, oh shit, my bad. He's not gonna, like, concede the argument because he missed something. Like, it wasn't meant to be super perfect. So I shouldn't make too big a deal of out of it, which I think is fine.
so I think this is like where I would go. I kind of want to just do more nodes because I'm not really used to noding,
Okay.
treeing. So yeah, doing more things seems good for me.
Did you do this one?
I got to speak more about this. I think I deleted that one because I didn't want this to get too populated, and I just replaced it with I'm open to adjusting my mental model.
But now you want to do more nodes.
Oh, okay. So do more nodes means do more nodes.
Just get it
The
super
bad thing
populated and
about
see what happens.
is do more nodes. So I can try to go all the way with nodes. Okay. Let's speak more about this. Okay.
Okay, now you want to move on to this one?
Okay. The first song, that was like clarification. And then like I'm gonna add like no, kind of, just to be like these aren't very important talking points. Like look at the actual topics.
Sure.
Also big, go big. Bigger. Okay. And then next paragraph. First, a clarification regarding receptivity to feedback. Okay, so that sounds like a clarification note of receptivity to feedback. Okay, so that's going to be like
Okay, so you
receptivity
can
to
find that
feedback.
node. Or that one's in.
Yeah. So
Okay, so he
increase.
rephrased it.
Okay, so clarification.
I'm gonna add that. Let's see, where is that? Here we go. Receptivity feedback. Detail or clarification. Okay. Receptivity to feedback equals the ability to listen and make the other person feel heard. There. I used his own words.
Okay. Ability to listen and make other feel. Okay, then he adds like extra detail, like a common way of doing it. It's
Yeah.
like one common technique for this is echoing back. Okay, so like a common technique is like echoing, and then another technique would be pointing at what makes sense and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we're doing some echoing right now because we're paraphrasing his stuff to make the tree.
okay, these need to be smaller so I can just zoom in again.
So he said in your own words, which means paraphrase or summary or whatever. The stuff we're doing when we don't use quotes.
Okay, 5NF, go away. No. Okay. Okay, clarification, detail, one common technique. Okay, pointing at what makes sense and what doesn't. Okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna try to do a few more quotes at least for like the smaller things, just so I can like do them faster.
Okay.
There's a lot of seagull. Okay, I think I did the receptivity to feedback one. I added the clarification, and then I added the detail nodes for the clarification. So like there's clarification, like trying to be more clear about something, and then detail is maybe also trying to be more clear about something. What's the detail supposed to be? So like clarification is like try to get rid of a misunderstanding maybe, and then detail is like here's more in-depth stuff about what I'm talking about. So clarification is you might get this wrong, and detail is like here's an example of like what I'm talking about. Here's like more specifically what I'm talking about. I think that's kind of what it is supposed to be, clarification and detail.
Yeah. Okay, so he mentions echoing. He mentions pointing at what makes sense and what doesn't.
Echoing.
He's found there are reasonable things even people who are wrong say.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Yeah, so I
links
added this
to.
one.
Oh, I've read this one before.
Yeah, so
Double crux.
I have echoing and pointing out what makes sense and what doesn't as different nodes.
Wait, he says footnote 1. I'm gonna check what that is.
I was thinking it was just the article he was talking about.
He said footnote 1. I'm gonna check specifically. Are there
I thought
footnotes?
the footnote was just like, this is a footnote of his own thing. Like,
Oh, yeah, that could be it. Let me go back and see.
I guess a footnote is supposed to be at the bottom. I was just thinking of this as like, here's the link for the article.
It sounds like he's saying footnote in the article.
Oh yeah, like footnote of article. Okay. What if you just look for one?
Looking back. Conclusion. I don't think it has footnotes.
Conclusions. Wait, find a disagreement with other person? What about below algorithm 1?
Yeah, it's not a footnote, but he could mean this, maybe.
One thing and they believe the other? Like a case where you believe one thing and they believe the other seems like similar to what we're talking about.
It's find a disagreement, so that's what a disagreement is.
Uh, huh. Yeah. Right.
Signal to the other person that you value them. Right, so one of the things that's hard about this is sometimes they haven't like demonstrated value. So it's hard to signal how great you think they are before they've done anything to earn it. So you run into this dilemma of do you like say how great they are before they've earned it and it might be false, or do you like wait until they do something good and then say, aha, that was good, I like that, I approve. But then some of the
Like,
times they don't say anything good or nothing very good, like because if they say like 8 awful things and 1 good thing and you're like, ooh, that was good, I approve, and you don't mention all the awful things, that's a problem too.
yeah. Like only judging them for their good things and not bad things. Okay. So like if they wrote like 100 blog articles or something, then that could be good. Like it seemed good that the Adamransky guy like even wrote an article. That seems like more than what people would do. Seems more than what I would do. So that seems like a good thing that he at least cared enough to write an article.
Writing articles is good. Yeah. But like he wrote an article, but also I don't think his ideas are very good. So it's hard to do a lot to signal how great I think he is. Because I
Yeah.
don't.
If he like wrote articles and like took criticism on them and wanted criticism, then that would be like a really good thing.
Yeah. There's a shortage of people who I can signal that I think that they're valuable or they have a bunch of good ideas or useful ideas or something. And that's true. Like I just literally don't know enough people to respect to go talk to and say, you seem cool, let's talk. But I'm willing to talk to people anyways and give them a chance and like because I don't know them. I'm willing to be neutral with other people, but I don't want to signal you're so great when I don't know them.
Yeah.
I think people they do that a lot and I think it causes a lot of problems.
So great.
Partly
And
they
not really.
convince themselves, like they think that it's their own opinion that this person's great and they don't really know them, and then they got like confused or they jump into things. People get like really enthusiastic over very little when they ought to be more discerning and find the good ones better. Happens a lot with dating. People are like, ooh, this person seems great. And then they jump in head first, and then later they're like, oh, there were so many things I didn't know about this person.
Hmm.
And then it's awkward because they already said how great they think the other person is. They can't really like take it back and start slower again very well. Yeah, people get really offended if you're like, you seem great, and then you decide they're only medium great, and then you like start taking things back, then they're like, screw you.
Hmm. I'm trying to figure out whether this Mountain Dew I have in my hand has ice in it and will explode if I open it. At first I tested by like trying to press in on it, and it has less give than than this Coke, which very much does not seem like it would have ice in it. And then I tried to listen to the fluid moving, and the Mountain Dew doesn't move fluid as much. So I think it has ice in it, and that I shouldn't try to drink it. Very sad.
The signal thing, I think, is a kind of a big deal, because it's like start by trying to increase each other's social status, and then you can have like a real discussion later. And when you start that way, usually they're not willing to tolerate at any point something that's bad for their social status.
Okay, by being like, we're gonna do some social status stuff. You're gonna be a higher social status, and later in the conversation, you're like, oh yeah, you're not actually that high social status. Then they're gonna take offense because they're like,
Yeah,
bro, I
you don't
agree
want
with
them
this.
to feel like cheated or baited and switched. They were like, I thought you were just gonna praise me a bunch, and now you're criticizing me. Why'd you switch? I don't want to give them a wrong idea by being like super nice up front, and then they think I'm super nice, and then I say mean things like why their ideas are false,
Hmm.
and then they look bad because they have a bunch of false ideas. Okay, did you make your notes for this paragraph?
No, but did I? Some. Yeah, I have the clarifications, the common techniques.
You've
For
got
like.
echoing, you have pointing at what makes sense.
Mhm.
Wrong people say reasonable things. Yeah, I left that one out, but that's there too. And then there's this last sentence that you can make a note for.
Okay. Unless wrong article touches on it a little. Clarification of respectivity to feedback, and make the other person feel heard. Okay. Pointing out
This
what
one, by
makes
the way, wrong people say reasonable things. I agree with this. This is one of the reasons I keep talking with people.
Hmm.
So, but if I signal I value them in that way, if I say, well, wrong people say reasonable things sometimes, they're not going to be like, thanks. Thanks
Even a
for
nice
valuing
flavor.
me.
Yeah.
It doesn't help very much.
Huh. Yeah. Okay, wrong people say reasonable thing. Less wrong article touches on this. Okay. Okay, that's. And then what was the next thing? The overall idea being to signal to the other person. Uh, uh, hey.
Okay, you think you understand the paragraph? Any question?
Okay, what's the paragraph about? Okay, it was regarding something. It was regarding the node above this tree. What was the node above this tree about? Uh, hmm. I'm closing my eyes and trying to remember. Okay, I forget what the node above this paragraph was, so I'm reading it. Okay, it was a clarification, and then all of this was like clarification of the clarification, and then it had more details. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's like,
BRB, just read the next one if you finish.
okay, don't only be flattery, agreeable to the staff, to act, be equal, respectful, values. Yeah, and so then from there, like added clarifications. So like he talked about what he meant by receptivity, and then like he started talking about like the ways that people can like ways to show you like more receptive and like show you respect people more. Uh, one of the examples is like echoing back and telling people when things they say make sense and like praising them for the things you like or for the things you value. Uh, yeah, close enough. Okay. Also, the list. So what was this sentence about? It was mostly just like clarification and extra detail about one of the previous things he said in like his last post. Yeah. Okay. Good enough. Videos blocked in Denmark. Okay. Second. Okay, so saying first and second makes it sound especially like it's important to add to a node. To
Second,
add the quality of avoiding
avoid
attachment.
rhetoric.
So this is sounds like an addition.
Okay, avoid rhetoric. Also avoid rhetoric. There.
Okay, I had it as addition, avoid rhetoric.
Yeah, that makes sense. He did say add. He is adding some. Okay. That being language. So do you know what this means?
That being language. Okay, so rhetoric being. So like that means rhetoric. So like rhetoric
Yeah,
being
you got it.
language. If I simplify. Wait, did you literally just mean what does the word that mean?
Well, I meant the whole highlighted part, but the hard part was what that means. You read like that being and maybe you got confused? I don't know. Apparently you didn't.
Okay, so like is that supposed to be like able to be replaced by like the other thing? So like I like pizza, that being good pizza. So like that could mean like I like pizza, good pizza,
Yeah,
or
that's
like being good
that'd
pizza.
be kind of an odd clarification. A more normal one would be like, I like good pizza, that being Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an odd phrasing. But okay, so rhetoric equals language designed to vilify, humiliate, or inflame emotions.
Okay. And then that sounds like a clarification node.
Yeah. Rhetoric equals, quote,
Okay.
comes from Stoicism. How to speak wisely. How to think like a Roman emperor.
Okay. I don't know if I need to add or okay. What would it be called when you cite or like give
Note
credit to
comes
something?
from book, you know?
Yes, like credit, like no credit to Stoicism for this. Okay, so that's the things I added.
Okay, yeah. I'm leaving out the Stoicism. It seems unnecessary. But I put in what rhetoric is. Okay. Now we have a bunch of super short paragraphs, like all of these very short.
Yeah, perfect. On get something like this. Okay, so if he reflects, these things happen. So where does he talk about his mental model? That seems like where this could go. If you understand ideal, if you want. Okay, this had to do with like mental.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
did
he
I
did
write down model?
mention mental model. Well, so I talked about model in this node, right? The me node. Our models are different. I think he's responding to me.
I,
I said our
uh,
models are different, and then he's talking about his model. So you
I think
could put it under here.
I'm open to adjustment. Yeah. Okay. I'm open to adjusting my mental model. That sounds like if I reflect on my mental model, it might be under there. Okay, where should if I reflect on my mental model go? This seems like kind of a more general thing, not like necessarily a child of I'm open to adjusting my mental model. It's just like a thing he's saying. Also, now I'm adjusting my mental model. It doesn't have to be in the thing. Okay.
Hard to use reason when emotionally aroused. Can't use reason when exhausted.
Okay, like a hard reason when emotionally. Yeah, that makes sense. Like they cannot, or it's at least much more difficult. So the card. Not use reason when they're exhausted. That's just like an absolute cannot.
I assume he means negative emotions. Although I mean, he partly means positive, but I think it's like more of the focus is on negative. Because people can be like kind of happy and it can still work.
Yeah.
I don't know. He could mean like you actually have to be really calm and like unemotional.
With the absolutely cannot, I was thinking about like when they're exhausted, the people
He,
cannot use reason when they're not.
he was mentioning stoicism, which is kind of like the word stoic means you can do stuff without showing your feelings or complaining. It's like kind of like being unemotional. And that word is based on the stoicism. Like that's the root, I think. Or maybe they named stoicism after it. I don't know, but I think they're related.
I'm gonna try to figure out what solipsism is quickly. I remember vegan people insulting you about being a solipsist or something, I think.
Oh, I don't remember that. I'm definitely not a solipsist.
I don't really know what it is. I once tried to look it up, but I couldn't really figure out what it means. Okay, the theory that the self is the only thing that can be known or and verified.
Okay, so solipsism basically says, I exist, you don't exist, you're a figment of my imagination. Gigahurt, also a figment of my imagination, and so on and so forth. You guys are all just things in my mind, but you don't exist in reality. I'm the only real person. Fuck you all.
Okay, so if someone else also says they're a solipsist, then you're like, no, you're fucking lying.
Right, yeah, you can't have like multiple solipsists agreeing with each other, because they'd have to agree about like who was real.
Uh-huh.
So, awkward.
Uh, in the definition of the theory that the self is the only thing that can be known and verified, that seems like would make more sense. It's not like absolutely saying you're the only thing that exists. It's just being like, I think, therefore I am. I can't know if you think, though. That would make more sense.
Yeah, that's a different version where you're just like, well, maybe you exist, but I'm not convinced. And they don't just apply it to other people. They're like, maybe this chair exists, but I'm not convinced of that either. It like completely rejects science and says we can't know anything with science.
That, yeah, I think I remember you saying something about that, where it's like, well, we're able to get to the moon with it, so maybe it's at least doing something.
Yeah, I mean, that's an okay argument about science in general. Or a solipsist would say, well, it got you to the dream moon in your imagination. But what does that prove?
It proves that science can help imagination go forwards, at least.
Yeah, but who cares?
Going to the moon in imagination is much funner than sitting on an empty beach.
Yeah, solipsism's not all that popular, really.
Uh,
It's a little bit dumb. Maybe a lot dumb. I don't know.
oh, no. Okay, we went to the
It,
stoicism.
it definitely
Descartes.
clashes with common sense. And it is refuted in David's book, The Fabric of Reality.
Mhm. Yeah. Also, if you're a solipsist, it doesn't seem like there's much point to say that you're a solipsist.
Yeah, like, why are you bothering talking to the figments of your imagination? Why are you debating solipsism with them? What do you care what they think, etc.? Reasonable rebuttal.
Okay, I want to get through to people with a reason. These all seem like easily kind of that they're just nodes of like the main topic.
Yeah, I just put notes here. Hard to use reason when emotionally exhausted. Can't use reason. Oh, emotionally aroused. Can't use reason when exhausted.
Huh. Okay, therefore I should not do what I can to not arouse their emotions or exhaust them. Seems like these should like link into a new kind of thing. I feel like it should be like this. Where is it?
To um have rational discussion, avoid emotionally arousing people or exhausting them. Then we move these ones under that because they're the reasons for it. I'm gonna put because in front of them. Because.
Okay, so how did you do it? To have rational, avoid emotionally arousing people, exhausting them because hard to use reason when emotionally aroused, reason when exhausted. Huh. This is like my not really tree version of it. Where you can do the lines. Okay, so you did it like don't emotionally arouse them or exhaust them because like I should not emotionally arouse or exhaust them because these reasons. That's kind of what you did, right?
Yeah, you did it the therefore way. Which I didn't do because then you have to add those arrows to the tree.
Hmm.
So I'm figuring the premises are the children that build up to the parent because it fits the tree model better. Because you can't have two parents. So I can't have like this one under these two in a tree without using a special arrow. So I'm trying to stick to the whole parts method. So this is the whole, and these are parts that go into it and help build it up. Like keep it in that order.
Oh, these are the parts that like I should do what I can to not arouse emotion or exhaust. Okay, so like I should do what I can to not exhaust them because blah. And also I want to get through people with reason. Okay. And what else is there? In conversation, the folks get discusses being such and stuff and that editor. Okay. I think that's I'm a child of the okay. Child of this. Big thing, and I want it to be easier to read. Increase. Intelligence comes. So from that, I derive tact, select listening, anti-rhetoric. Okay, all these seem like they're talking about mental models. It's like, this is what happens to people mentally. Here are my models and like my conclusions about what to do from those models.
Yeah, so he's saying these two things are problems that get in the way of reason, so avoid them. And then what are the causes of each of the problems, and what is the solution to each of the problems? Right, so he has problem one, emotional arousal.
Oops.
Cause of
Yeah.
problem, threatening their status, intelligence, competence, or other qualities. And solution to problem, tact, respect, listening, anti-rhetoric. Problem two, exhaustion gets in the way of reason. Exhaustion is caused by too much at once or not having traction. And the solutions are brevity and listening.
Okay. Then he waits your model critique or any other direction you want to go. And then like you just
Exhaustion comes from too much at once or no traction.
oh right, the folks get exhausted would be like a child of like hard when they're exhausted, and like emotionally aroused is a child of like emotionally aroused, right? I had them as like separate nodes on like the main
Yeah,
thing.
does this make sense? I was trying to organize it based on his two themes, emotionally aroused and exhausted. So then we've
Yeah,
got two sections.
yeah, that makes sense. I'm coughing that because that seems like it makes more sense. Like you have the emotionally aroused thing, and then you have like the exhausted thing. Like this is talking, I shouldn't uh don't arouse them or exhaust them because like hard to deal with arouse, and then like talking about arouse and like ways to deal with
Okay.
that, and like hard with exhausted, like why is hard, and then had to deal with that. So it's like why, how, solution, like why, how, solution, kinda.
Yeah. Okay, so we finished up his post. Any questions about it? You think you understand it?
Okay, so what is his post about? You can read the first paragraph. Topic. Okay, so he's open to like talking about this new topic, and then what came from there. Okay, he talked about like, all right, it's talking about mental models, I think. I think this post is mostly talking about mental models, and it had some clarifications of something else. What did it clarify? Oh yeah, the flattery
Yeah.
agreeable stuff.
So we looked through it. We have like hi, hi. Um,
Hi, hi.
these are all sort of introductory things, right? These don't say very much.
Like the
Then we
third one
have
was good.
clarification, clarification. This just says like the stuff I said before is not complete. You know, it doesn't say
Yeah,
much. Okay, so then he has two clarifications, and then he has
clarification.
model. So it's like three minor things: clarification, clarification, model,
Huh. That makes sense. Okay,
and
so this is
another
his
minor
model.
thing for this last line.
Yeah. Don't really need to add this because like trees are timeless maybe. You don't need to care about the time with the tree. Like they have the order.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna worry about this one for the tree. I mean, if I was like, yeah, I want to go in a different direction, and then I took it off in a totally different direction, maybe I'd add this to the tree that he gave me permission, because it'd be relevant.
Yeah, it's like why are we going in a different direction? Like, oh, well, he said if you wanted to go into a different direction, and I did want to.
I was like, cool, let's talk about why you shouldn't lie to your kids about Santa Claus.
Hmm.
That would be a very different direction.
Yeah. Okay. That's a few preliminary laws that I think make conversation part. Okay, so your first thing was about preliminary qualities. Uh, and then he like,
Okay, let's. I need to highlight all of these things and tag them. There, gigahertz.
uh,
There, tagged.
okay,
Yeah, everything is now tagged. Perfect.
icon, uh, blue person. I forget which blue I was using. Okay, it was cyan.
Okay, so if you look at the tree, you can see that gigahertz has done most of the talking.
Yeah.
Although it's not as imbalanced as it seems like, because um, I wrote a blog post that he was commenting on, and in my blog post, I wrote, how do you make it show up? Curi. Okay, it was this one. Rationally ending discussion. There we go. 4195 words. So, yeah, I wrote 4,000 words before he started. So I've actually written more than him. We just didn't put it all in the tree.
Huh. Okay. That makes
So it's not
sense.
like he's
So
doing all the work. I did write a bunch of stuff.
yeah, it's like this represents like an entire blog post, like this note I'm highlighting.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, so there are a decent number of things going on here. Like we have one branch, two branch, three branch, four branch kind of, right? There's like four different areas. I didn't even do this one. Maybe there's 5. Depends exactly how you count.
Yeah, mine, I don't know how many branches it has. There's like the one initial thing, then like 1, 2, then on the 2 thing there's like more.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's hard to do like an exact count. I was sort of looking for big branches, so around 4-ish. Yeah, you've got 1 over there. Like that looks like 1.
I'm
And
gonna move
like
this over
that
to the
looks
left.
like
Just
1.
a bit more. Oh no, I destroyed
Okay,
it.
don't worry about it.
Moving it to the
Okay,
left because it feels more relevant, like smaller
1,
comments.
2. Okay, well there's at least 3.
I'm zooming now. Wee. Okay, something. Okay, I kind of want to just move all of the small, like little comments to the left.
If you
And
want.
like bigger things with bigger things go to the right. Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is gonna be, so he just finished talking, now it's like my turn. So what would you say next, or like what do you think I would say next? You know? Think about the response to him before reading my response.
Okay, so he had some clarifications. He said clarifying stuff. Uh, and then he had the model. The model seems like the main big part of his comment, like the main ideas. That seems like where you'd mainly focus. That's my thought.
Okay, and then do you have any like specific arguments I might say? Like,
Mm.
if you look at what he said, is there stuff you agree or disagree with?
Oh, uh, okay, this seems kind of like try to pander to people. Okay, what's the main thing? Okay, one
Which
thing,
seems like pandering? I don't know which
uh,
note you were talking about.
like trying to be flattery and agreeable with people.
Oh, well, he said
Uh,
don't only, but yeah, there's some there, some pandering, because he said do some of it.
Also, you talked about like being respectful. Okay, one way I want to think about this is I remember you talking kind of about okay, I'm not sure how this relates. Try to appeal to the best people. I'm not sure how this relates to this though, because you're trying to like be able to just talk to people at all kind of. So like there's not enough best people to appeal to.
Well, one of the things you can do is you can aim your posts for the best people, and then everyone else doesn't like them, and you don't care, and then they leave you alone because they don't like you, and then only the best people keep talking to you. You filter people out by annoying all the lesser people.
Hmm.
That is a strategy you could try.
That would
It's
be.
hard though. It's hard to write something that all the best people will like and all the not best people will not like. Um,
It's hard. Huh? Huh. Okay, so model stuff and ending exactly as the model clarification resist. Okay, that's a clarification. I think I remember you talking earlier about this, like disagreeing with this, I think. Wait, was there something else? Okay, what is this? Some things essential to discussion don't work with some people. Uh, oh wait, that seems kind of true. Like sometimes someone just doesn't want to be reasonable. Hard to do anything about that. You
yeah,
could
what we
try,
talked
but
about was he used some really strong words like any and can and possible. So I
uh,
disagreed with that, but if you tone it down a bit, it seemed like decently reasonable.
yeah. Mhm. It feels like the main thing might be like him talking about the disagreements from like your comment. So like wait. Okay, if he responded to this, then it seems like you'd respond to the things he responded to. That
Mm-hmm.
seems like where you'd mainly go. Okay, this was like the part where he mostly actually said things. Like if I reflect on my mental model, then he started talking about his mental model.
Yeah, he had 2 clarifications, several minor comments, and this whole model thing.
Hmm. Okay, so he doesn't want to arouse their emotions because hard to reason when emotionally aroused. Uh, okay. If they get hard to reason with when emotionally aroused, like how often do they actually stay like calm and cool? Like, can they actually not be emotionally aroused in a discussion? Is that like actually really possible to begin with?
Yeah, that is a problem because um, when people act calm, often they're not calm. They often hide their emotions, but they're having more emotions than they let on. So if you just look at the world and you're like, how often did someone act calm in a discussion? You might be like, 1/4 of the time. But then you're like, well, how often were they faking? And that might be a lot.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. In conversation, folks get emotionally aroused. Okay, this makes sense. This is just like saying when they get aroused, like all of these seem like reasonable. So like if they feel criticized, they might feel threatened. Or if they're criticized, they might feel threatened, and then they like get emotional about it. Okay, and then
Okay,
he said like
sure, go
strategies
ahead.
that uh okay, strategies. So it seems like you'd have a comment on the strategies to deal with that. I don't know if I do. Tact. Having to like be careful about what you say with people seems like a bad thing, and that ideally you wouldn't have to. Uh, not sure.
Yes, it would
Uh,
be nice if people had like really thick skins and we didn't have to be very careful. There would be a benefit to that.
mhm. But I don't think this is necessarily talking about like the ideal is. It's just like saying, like, this is the mental model people have, and like, here's my strategies for dealing with it. Or maybe it's like these strategies for dealing with it. I'm not sure. If people cannot use reason when they're exhausted, that seems just kind of wrong. Uh, if you're tired, you can still use reason, I think. Like, you're still able to like talk to someone. Like if you're really, really fucking tired and then someone asks like, hey, do you want to debate me about communism? You can like use your reason and be like, no, I'd much rather go to sleep where then I can uh, use my brain more than debate while I'm so fucking tired. That seems like it would be reason.
Sure. Yeah, it's hard to reason when you're exhausted. I do agree with him about that.
Yeah. So I
So
guess it's not
taking
really
a
the
break
cannot.
can be useful.
Yeah. And folks is also when too much comes at once. No traction.
Oh, yeah, so what do you think no traction means? We didn't
I
talk
don't
about
know.
that one. I assume you know what
One,
too much comes at once means, right?
yeah, so like if someone is like, "Oh, hey, I think communism good," and then someone else like copy paste the entire text for like capitalism, a treatise on economics, and like,
Yeah, that would be a
uh,
lot. Here, have a 1,000-page textbook.
yeah, so like, uh, I don't know exactly though. Like, I feel like you'd get mostly exhausted from trying to get through it all rather than like it just existing. Like if it just happens to exist, like whatever, you could ignore it. But if you like
Yeah, and
try
take
to
your
get
time with
through
it.
it, uh,
But if
another,
it comes out more when the person is just writing a bunch of messages to you, so they're like fresh messages written by this person personally for you, so you feel more pressure to respond to them than if it's just like books that exist.
yeah, also kind of another thing is like I think we've talked about this before, where you can like be exhausted because you're like trying to evade. You don't really want to talk about this. I remember you saying something about like sometimes when you're trying to have a conversation with people, they mysteriously out of nowhere just suddenly become like too tired or exhausted to talk about it.
Yeah, parents do that. People are really biased about how tired they are. Um, like their kid wants to do X with them, and they're like, "No, honey, I'm too tired." And then their kid's like, "Well, can you at least help me learn math?" And they're like, "Okay." And then they get a burst of energy when their kid wants math help because they think their kid should learn math, and that's really important to them. So then they have enough energy for that. But when their kid wants help playing a video game, they're like, I'm tired. They give into their tiredness more when they want to, like when they care less about the activity. So when you find people are tired in discussion with you, it's not just how tired are they, it's also how much do they value the discussion, because they look at how good is the discussion compared to how tired I am. So like if I'm 50 tired and a discussion is 80 awesome, I'll be like, yeah, let's go. But if I'm 50 tired and a discussion is 25 awesome, I'll be like, nah, bro, too tired. You get it? They're the same
Yeah.
amount of tired, but they respond differently. They only have enough energy when the awesome level is above the tired level. But when the awesome level is below the tired level, then they're too tired.
And it's also like kind of like can I only have this conversation like right now? Like if you get to talk to like Mises or something, but it's only like
Yeah,
within this hour and you're like really tired. Like
yeah.
if you could wait tomorrow, then like you'd probably just be like, okay, I'm gonna sleep then talk to him. But if it's like 100 points of tired, but like 1,000 points of awesome conversation and you can only talk to him once, like right now, then that would be like a big uh like talk to him if you're tired anyway.
Yeah, so the result of this, there are other factors that matter too. But the result of this is the less thrilled people are with the conversation, e.g., because they're losing the argument and they don't like that, then the more they tend to not get around to replying to you today because they're a bit tired. And then when they don't get around to talking to you today, they often don't get around to it later either because they're like, I have other stuff to do. And also, a lot of the times they're replying because they're tilted and they're like, someone's wrong on the internet, I gotta yell at him. And that's why they're replying to you. That's their motivation, as they want to correct you. And then when they go to sleep, and then they wake up, and then they're calm, when they don't have that emotion anymore, then they don't talk to you anymore because they don't have a reason to. They still don't like it, but they're not emotionally invested actively anymore in like fixing you. So when when they don't come back the next day, it's often a sign that they were talking in the first place due to short-term emotions that went away when they slept. Because when they sleep, one of the main things that changes is their short-term emotions get like erased. So if they sleep and then they don't talk to you more, probably they were emotional.
Huh, so that sounds like it can be easier to talk to someone when they're emotionally aroused because you can talk to them at all.
Yeah, in some ways it's easier because if they're like annoyed with you, that will motivate them to actually talk. This is not. But then what happens is the discussion doesn't work out. They don't learn anything. It doesn't. It's not good. Like you don't want those conversations. They're lame. The person like sabotages it by not being logical, and like their quality is worse than usual. Like they talk dumber than they could.
Hmm. Dumb and then they could. So you don't want to like be able to talk to someone who's like not emotional.
It's not the only reason people drop conversations after they go to sleep. Partly they're like bad at scheduling and they got like busy with other stuff. Okay, so you want to go on to my response and see what I said?
A few preliminary clauses. I make a good conversation partner.
Oh yeah, so it's only this much, so we could finish this for sure, I think.
I think on the clauses that make. Okay, the qualities that make a good partner and the qualities that 99% of people want from a conversation partner are. Okay, so things that make a good one and the things that actually exist or that people actually want. So like the best thing could be X, but people really want Y. People would like answer on
Yeah.
a server on a survey, oh, I'd love X, and then they buy Y.
Yeah, like maybe a good conversation partner is totally honest and totally logical. What they really want is somebody who's like honest most of the time, but he'll make some exceptions for you. And not that logical because you don't want to be wrong like every time, you know? You'd rather if he's wrong part of the time so you can feel better about yourself. So if he's like too much better at logic than you, you're going to be like annoyed. I mean, I don't recommend that attitude, but I think it's common.
Okay, so what is this? Okay. Okay, so I'm not sure where response goes. Okay, probably from what you quoted. So let's find that. Okay.
Yeah, I quoted something so you can figure out what the parent note is. That's one of the things quotes are for.
Okay. Trying to figure out. Yeah.
So
Okay. Zoom.
I don't think we have that exact thing in our tree. But the thing I'm talking about is he listed qualities that make a good partner. So where was that? I think it's over here. Here, these are qualities that make a good partner. People want more than super agreeable or flattering. People want tact, brevity, respect, receptivity to feedback, attention, and interesting. Yeah, so I think I'm responding to this node. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so it's like okay. You said
Yeah, so
99
there's two basic parts to my post. This is part one right here. And then this right here, the last paragraph is part two, where I bring up a different thing. So we can deal with this whole part and figure out what's going on, and then we'll have one more part.
Okay, so we can figure out like the whole hexagon. Big. Wait, this is a pentagon.
No, it's not. Count the
Wait, what is
sides.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Wait, was the thing I used last time a pentagon? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What? This is like this both hexagons, but just in different. Rotated slightly.
Yeah, they have the flat part in a different place. You can have the flat on the top and bottom, or you can have the flat on the left and right. Your choice.
Huh.
You get so many features. Over here in my node, there's only one hexagon shape. I can't put the angle parts on the top. And octagon. Octagon looks a lot like rounded. Rectangle, they're too similar.
Yeah, I think there's something about a circle just being a square that you keep cutting the edges off. I think that might be how some shapes work. Might have something
Oh,
to do with pi.
you mean like adding more and then you like go.
I was thinking more specifically cutting away rather than adding.
Oh, okay. So you like chop the edges off and like chop the edges off, chop the edges off, sort of.
Yeah, and then you get more circular.
Yeah, you know, the more sides you add to the shape, the more you get a circle. Like an octagon is closer to a circle than a hexagon than a square.
Yeah.
I mean, for regular shapes, where like all the sides are the same length.
It gets closer to the circle. Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, I'm writing some sort of response here. What's it about?
Okay, qualities that make a good partner. Oh wait. Okay, here's my first node in the response thing. I think it's in a fine place. I'm gonna make it smaller. Uh, okay. Okay, and okay. So, and uh, okay. This feels like it's gonna be a bit weird because I don't think I can just put them in order that they appear. I think
Yeah,
I might need to put a thing in, which is like uh, blah 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 because quality is good conversation. People actually want. So like,
yeah. So try to deal with this much all at once, I think, and see what
okay.
you can do with this part.
hmm
This whole part right here is sort of like one long sentence.
hmm So like, here qualities that
I
make good.
think X and Y are significantly different things. Like that's one sentence, but these like middle parts, the X and the Y, are kind of like long and complicated, so I broke it up.
Okay. So how can I try to? Where would it even be in response to begin with? Like, don't only be. Okay, I think it's in response to this. Different request qualities, different. Okay, okay. Then like maybe it would be like detail. Okay. Like uh.
Okay, take a look at what I'm doing and see if this makes sense to you.
Okay. What is you doing? Two things are different. Okay. Guys that make good partner and like what these people actually want. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I was thinking of like maybe doing an and thing where it's like verification, don't only be flattery, blah blah. And then like where my post is, I just have like and uh quality is good conversation partner, quality is 99% of people. That's like one way I was thinking of doing it, but then I just did this where I have it in like one message.
okay, so I'm gonna try to split it up a bit. things are qualities. I'll put that in quotes. Quote. Quote. Okay, now I have the two things that are different, and then I had a comment on each one, so that's primarily about rationality, and the other one primarily about social dynamics. That's quote. I'll put this in quotes as well. Okay, and then I think I've got it. This is the thing I was trying to say in the post. Two things are different. Here's thing number one, here's thing number two. And also, thing number one is about rationality, thing number two is about social dynamics. That helps explain the difference.
Yeah, so I kind of combined them. I did combine them. Okay. Yeah.
Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, two things are different. Like, the two things that are different are like what people actually want and what people like. The good things that people, good qualities, different from qualities that people actually want. Yeah. So those are the two different things, and they go in more detail on each specifically.
Yeah, I like having them split up because they're like separate ideas.
Hmm.
But yours, like if I just read through it, I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
But as a tree, I think it's less organized.
Okay. I'm gonna try to do the two things then. Okay. So, okay, so like, two things are different. Like, what am I doing? Okay, there are two things. So, okay. I remember your tree too much, so it's hard to think of a tree that's just like different from it, like using my own words. So I'm just gonna copy your tree a lot. Okay, what is it? These like these two things are different. Okay, what am I doing? See. Okay, so like these two things are different. And then I'm just gonna also quote your exact messages. Don't need the one, I guess. Mhm. It seems two-handed. Okay, you also get diamond. The diamond takes up so much space. Do you see this diamond?
I do, yeah. It's pointy.
What about a circle?
Those are even bigger.
Yeah. Whoa.
Right, now they're just spiky hexagons. Okay, so what's this next paragraph about?
Okay.
Wait, did you understand the things? Did you think about these two things? What are 1 and 2? Do you understand why they're different?
Okay, why are they different? I feel like I might be repeating myself. Why are they different? The first one is about like what is actually like reasonable, what is the ideal thing you want from like a discussion partner, like what would be good. Like they could be
Yeah,
like reasonable, they could
yeah.
like
I think
tell
we
you when
talked
you're
about
wrong,
this one.
criticize you. The second one is like what do people actually want? Like someone to kind of feel smart about. Maybe the other person can be smarter than them, but like they'll give in. They won't always be right. They won't be like a Howard Rourke who's like undeniably like proud of himself or whatever.
Yeah, I think a lot of what they want from a discussion partner is someone who discusses in a way where they gain status. So they want someone who they can gain status when they talk with them. Because that's like their goal, is to gain status, not to learn things. For most people, most of the time.
How much status can you like kind of just fake? Like if you go into somewhere where no one knows you, but like you know all the strategies to like look really good,
Yeah,
and
like
you
a
like
lot.
so you can like gain a huge amount of status from just acting like you high status if you know how to
Yeah,
do it right.
it depends somewhat. It's harder in some places than others, like academia. It's hard to just walk into academia and act high status compared to like a bar. It's easier at a bar.
There's also like something about like uh acting like you belong. This is like a thing I heard about with physical penetration testers. They have a job where they
Yeah,
like are hired by a company to like basically break into uh like a company building or whatever. And
yeah, testing the security.
if you just have a fucking hard hat, like a safety vest, and like act like you belong is one of the things. Like have a hard hat, safety vest, and like a metal clipboard and look really official and like you're doing an inspection or something. Like no one will fucking deny you entrance. Like they'll just be like, "Oh, I guess you're an inspector person. Come right in."
Yeah, hopefully some places actually check IDs or something, but okay, so next paragraph.
Mhm. Okay, I read you as talking more about too. Yeah, that seems maybe kind of what I felt. Did I say that? Maybe. This is the one I meant to mainly bring up. E.g., mention think you're mainly social dynamics issue. Yeah, threats to the status self-esteem seems social dynamicsy. Like, why would you care about status if you want to find the truth or whatever? Hmm.
Where's the part where he was mentioning threats? People don't want threats. Oh yeah, it's over here. Not there. Somewhere around here. Here, this one. This is where he says threats.
Yeah, you can think this one. Okay, put your thing closer to your other thing.
Oh, mine are already next to each other. Look at this. Look how close they are.
Huh. Yeah, mine are further because these extra notes are to the left. So I'm putting the extra notes to the right. Now they're way closer. Okay. Uh, where is threat? Did I have threat here? I thought I had here. Jack James, okay. Threatened. Okay, there I found the threat. Okay, I don't know where to put this the paragraph. Okay, let's try to get this paragraph inside of a tree. Mentally moving up. Okay, so you're kind of just stating what you think happened with like the first sentence. That's decided. Okay. Threats to status or self-esteem are mostly social dynamics issues. Dynamics. Okay, then also there's like a no.
Your nodes make sense to me. Got any more?
Okay, so I got to the social dynamics ones. Okay. Using so where did self-esteem come from? That was a new term. Okay, I'm confused at like the where did self-esteem come from
So I
part.
used the word self-esteem here,
Yeah.
right? But he did not use the word self-esteem. So I said, you mention, and then I said threats to status or self-esteem. But then I'm like, wait, you didn't say self-esteem. That wasn't your term. That wasn't your word. So why am I bringing it up? And then I explained that.
You mentioned threats to intelligence and competence, which I interpret as meaning threats to the positive evaluation of those traits. Okay, so like, okay. You interpret positive evaluation of those traits by yourself is self-esteem. So if someone else is like, you shouldn't have those traits be positive, then that like is a threat to your self-esteem. If someone else might say like the traits you have aren't positive, then that could be a threat to your self-esteem.
Yeah, so if people are going to evaluate you low on those, then that would be a threat to your status. And if you're going to evaluate you low on them, that would be a threat to your self-esteem. And what would cause these low evaluations? If someone pointed out why you're stupid or incompetent. Then that could
Yeah.
lead to low self-esteem if you agreed with them and you started evaluating yourself that way. Or if others did, it would be a threat to status. I've had people tell me things like, I don't want you to say negative things about me because people might believe them. Even if they're false, people might believe them. So just don't say negative things. It's like, if they're true, definitely don't say them. People might believe them. And if they're false, don't say them. People might believe them, even though they're false, because people are dumb. And they're just so scared that anyone will say anything negative, and then they'll look bad.
Let's go.
And that's not like regular random people off the street. That is people who are like, I'm a philosopher. I read the philosophy books. I'm super rational. I'm really into reason. I'm gonna program an AGI. And then they're
But
like
please don't
that.
criticize me.
What?
But then they're like, please don't criticize me.
Yeah. They're like, I'm scared to talk in public though, because what if I say something that's not true or that you think isn't true, and then you say something negative, and then someone thinks I'm bad?
I forget exactly what you said about like AGI, but I think you might have said something about like how seriously do they take it? Like if they're trying to program AGIs, like do they think there's like a chance they could accidentally program one when trying to?
Oh,
Like
that was
if they,
with Gavin.
huh. And then like kind of human rights issues, like are you going to take it seriously? Are you going to have like backups just in case you program one and then accidentally kill it? I think that might have been a thing you said. It kind of made sense. Like, yeah, if you're gonna program an AGI, you probably want like to make sure things are safe, like just in case you kill it. Like not even to like save the data, but you could like kill an intelligent being.
Yeah, people are also worried that the AGIs will kill all the humans. So, given that that is like a mainstream viewpoint to some extent, like it's, part of the conversation, I thought, you should either have an opinion about it, like decide that's wrong, or decide this is how we deal with that danger. Or option two, don't do anything like remotely similar to making an AGI. Just stay the hell away from the problem.
Mhm.
But if you're going to be like, I'm going to write machine learning code and try to make it like better and, improve it and keep working on it and make it really good. And also, I have no idea whatsoever whether AGIs are dangerous. And I don't care to think about that because that seems like extremely irresponsible.
Huh?
That
So
was
it
what I
could
tried to
work.
tell Gavin, and then he hated me.
Huh? So it could work and be reasonable to be like, okay, I've looked into this machine learning stuff and it has nothing to do with making an intelligent being. I've tried to ask people about it, so this machine learning stuff is completely safe to do.
Yeah, that's not a very reasonable position. Like, it's called machine learning because people think that it is, or at least might be, related to making an AGI.
Huh.
Like, machine learning means getting the computer to be able to learn things, and AGI is, might, or at least might be, approximately a program that can learn stuff.
Hmm.
So if you're working on that, it's close enough to AGI that you should be careful or have some idea of what you're doing or have some opinion on whether there's a threat or not or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Gavin didn't think it made sense though. He's just like, why are you bringing up Doomsday? I'm just trying to like write some code. You're just super unreasonable.
Uh,
And like, I don't really think he's gonna invent an AGI, but he doesn't know that. Like, it's hard to tell what could lead to AGI. Like, we have all these movies and stories where it's like people accidentally invented AGI. The systems, we just kept improving the systems, and then at some point, they just turned into AGIs. Like, you know, that's a
hmm,
known thing that could happen, and it's a thing that's not just in fiction stories. There are serious people who have arguments about why that kind of thing can happen.
mhm. This is-
And including in The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch, there's the stuff about the jump to universality. And that gives us a hint that there could be a jump where it seems not at all like an AGI, and then you add one more feature, and then you have an AGI. It just jumped from like not much to the whole thing. Maybe it'll work
So
like that.
yeah, it's like if you're accidentally playing with transistors or something, then like you could end up having a universal computer or something. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah,
So
yes.
like,
Universal computers are not that hard to make if you have like any features at all. Like you don't need very many features, and then you end up at universality. And it does all the things.
yeah, is
You're
I
like,
feel like,
yesterday it did nothing, and today it does everything. I just
huh?
added one more part, and now I can do all the things.
Huh. Is there, yeah, is there a single gate where if you have the single gate, it's a universal computer?
Yes, there are several. One of them is called NAND, which means not and.
So
So,
like, is it yes if not both are yes? Okay, so
yeah,
it has like two inputs and it outputs true if only one or zero are true.
correct. Yes, and that's universal.
Huh. That seems weird. That seems like a lot of power for a single gate.
Yes, yes, that
There's
helps you see how little it takes. So if you have that, you just need to do that a bunch of times, and you can build out of it other things such as plus multiply, subtract, divide, square root, exponential, many other things. But those are some examples. Like you can build math out of that. Just the one
Uh,
thing, NAND, and you can build all the math.
huh. I was playing like a management game, and it has kind of gates in it. I've only really been using AND gate. So like if the left pipe is full and the right pipe is full, do a thing. Or like if something and something else is X, then do Y. That's like pretty fucking useful. AND gates are like the main thing I've been using. I haven't really figured out how to use any others. AND gates are like extra simple. Okay.
Okay, did you
So
finish the paragraph?
uh I don't think so.
Oh yeah, so there's this
Oh,
sentence. This
maybe
one's
I
kind of
did.
hard, so let's break it down a bit more.
Okay, I did put in this thing right here. I interpret threats intentions as like a threat to self-esteem. Okay, so that's the thing I wrote here.
Does this make sense?
Uh, okay, so that's intelligence and competence equals
So
threats to self.
those ones are from the paragraph, and then this one I wrote separately. The
Okay.
red is separate.
Uh-huh. Okay, so that's the positive attitude chased by yourself or others equals something that causes you or others to think you're bad intelligence or competence. Yeah, so if it's right, so threats to intelligence and competence also therefore equals something that causes you or others to think you're bad at intelligence, and then you have like an in between to explain it more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's useful. It's easier to tell once you know that equation can just mean like the same as other thing. It doesn't have to be like the answer. It doesn't have to be like
Oh, yeah. Equals means equality, means they're the same.
yeah. It's like 1 times 4 is the same as 2 plus 2.
Math checks out.
Yeah, one thing I noticed I was slightly afraid of is making a note that you disagree with. That seemed bad. Shouldn't be afraid of that.
Okay, so here's what I did.
3 qualities. Self-esteem. 3 qualities. Here, let's talk about.
Like, here's the two different types of qualities. Here's where I started.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had the things under it. And then I added this new thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure how much I'm following it. I think I am getting like more tired and exhausted
I see.
than when we started, definitely.
Okay, so I said two things are different. And then
Yeah,
here's thing one, and here's thing two.
yeah. It's like
And thing
rational.
one is about rationality, and thing two is about social dynamics.
Hmm.
And then for thing two, what I added is I think you're mostly talking about these qualities, meaning the thing two ones. e.g., threats to status and self-esteem. And then we have an arrow to where he said threats to intelligence and competence and status.
That's intelligent. Okay, so he had
Emotional arousal comes from threats to status, intelligence, and competence.
okay, so that's going to kind of be like this on oh no. Okay. Relationship. There.
And then at the bottom, I just said clarification. Threats to intelligence and competence equals, and then I quoted that thing about threats to the positive evaluation, meaning self-esteem or status.
Okay.
So this is trying to explain why these things mean self-esteem and status.
Okay. You get two types of qualities, like the reason that's primarily like it's like the good things are primarily about rationally. Like the thing that 99% of people want is like primarily about social dynamics. And then like okay, so I have it so like uh the things 99% of people want, and then like a note saying it's primarily about social dynamics, and then like sub things from that. And then also here I have like a clarification for I think that status, esteem or
Okay,
social dynamics issue. And like
sure.
okay.
Okay, and then I have a final paragraph. This is where we'll end. This one should go fast.
Okay. If that makes sense so far, what I'd like to bring up next is what people find threatening to status and self-esteem and how that affects conversations. So like what you want to bring up is like what people are afraid of with like the status and self-esteem, like what could go wrong and how that affects conversations. So, like if someone is like worried that you're going to criticize them, and then like a potential fan could hear that and be like, and that person's not very smart, then that would affect how they do conversations. Like they try to be like very not refutable, uh just like try to say things where it's hard for you to actually debate with them, and then
Yeah,
uh
people often hide behind ambiguity and not clarifying what they mean and so on a lot.
and
Okay,
like
so I was
after
asking him a question, or I was bringing up a topic. What people find threatening and how it affects conversations. I'm just going to put this in the tree.
so
Next topic. So this is a response to something over here, I think. This conversation model. Oh, no, it's this. It's right here. He said threats. Right, so I'm going to put it here. Let's discuss. Alright, so this is curi. Let's discuss
okay
what
one
people find threatening to status and self-esteem and how that affects conversations. I'll put this on this side closer to my other thing.
one thing I was not sure about is like just having a thing saying let's discuss this further in a tree. That seems that initially felt
Yeah, I
like
wanted to
maybe
include this one because it's a topic. Like, it has an actual idea. What do people find threat? It's like a question. It's like I'm asking a question, kind of. So, I think a question makes sense in a node.
like will you
What's the answer to
refute
this topic?
yeah, like will you refute X? That would be like that might be like an important thing, and like getting their answer would be like important. So like if they just say like
Yeah.
no, like will you refute X? No, that's like kind of an important like branch ender.
Yeah, but so that one is that's kind of meta. Whereas this one's less meta because I'm bringing up the issue of what do people find threatening to status, right? Like that's an actual part of the conversation. That's the kind of thing we're trying to figure out.
Mhm.
Is the kind of thing we're making claims about.
Huh. Making claims.
As a preview for Gigahert's next message, On the two qualities things being different, he says he agrees. I just threw that in. And then I'm going to make my nodes turn red. I need this one. Red. There we go. And now we have a red part of the tree.
Okay, so you can set it like. Okay. Oh god.
Oh, you made the background change.
Hey.
Oh, that looks like my actual stuff.
Huh, okay, let's look at your website. Okay, so this specific shade of
I mean,
fucking
it's a
dark
bit different, but it looks kind of similar. Got the white
is
text
there
on red.
a color picker option?
Got
Like
LA
there's
Temple, and look, white text on red.
okay, how do I pick a color? Okay, is there a program that can pick a color in the internet?
Those
Color.
exist. So I think we're done for now. Should we just end here, and then you can go find a color picker?
Uh, yeah. Okay, URL to website. Oh no, this URL is. I can just type in
Do you have
curi.us.
any final questions before we stop?
Oh, final questions. Uh, okay. Use enter not sure. Mm. Yeah, I can't really think of any right now. Trees seem cool. This is a lot of tree, it looks like. Uh, being better at trees seem good. Yeah.
Okay,